want to turn to Eric Glasser, who is along Bayshore Boulevard for us. He's been monitoring that situation for a better part of the day as we watch that water rise and some of it push onto roads that we don't recognize right now. Eric.
Well, on any given day, you can see flooding along Bayshore Boulevard. It is one of those places where it does typically flood during a rainstorm, but it is not raining at the moment. We're talking strictly about Hurricane Helene, and the effects that it's having on Bayshore Boulevard are clear. That is as a result of the storm surge that we have been talking about. Several feet of water now along Bayshore Boulevard. We're at the corner of Bayshore and Swan Avenue, very close to Tampa General Hospital. And you can see the water now starting to crash over the balustrade, that handrail that runs along the length of the sidewalk here in South Tampa. Bayshore Boulevard is underwater from downtown all the way down to Bay Boulevard, and the police have many of the roads closed off in the area to keep traffic away. The only thing that we have been able to see along this stretch so far is people walking, some people swimming, some folks on bicycles, even inner tubes, as people try to make light of and have fun with the situation that is now ongoing out here. But it is no fun for the people with homes in the Hyde Park area and close to downtown. They remember a year ago with Hurricane Idalia, 4 feet of storm surge put water up against their homes, and in some cases, water did make it into some of the houses here in the neighborhood. And so they are clearly concerned about the possibility of a 5 to 8 foot storm surge being just that much worse. The good news, if there is any, is that at this moment, the tide is going out as we expect the surge to be moving in, but clearly the surge right now is winning the battle, still inundating the roadway and the neighborhood with at least a couple of feet of water. That's typically a high and dry 10-foot median in the center of Bayshore Boulevard. It is completely covered. And again, the only traffic able to get through here right now is people on foot, bicycle, and others that we've seen recreating, if you will. Again, the police department is out here. They've got the streets closed off. They're making sure that nobody gets stuck in this area. But as time progresses, the skies have gotten gray. The wind has definitely picked up, and it's pushing more water into the bay. It's believed that this situation out here could possibly get worse before it gets better. In Tampa, Eric Glasser, 10 Tampa Bay.
Big thanks to Eric for that report there.
Yeah.
Sarah, you and I cringe every single time he says that people are walking through that water, they are inner tubing through that water, they are swimming through that water. They're messing with some troubled waters that you don't know what's in the water.
You don't know.
Bacteria.
Yeah, no, and if you have any type of cut or anything on your foot, that's something you definitely don't want to be messing with. And Bayshore Boulevard, so prone to flooding. Just driving by there the other day, you see all these houses that are up for sale, and it made me think, why, you know, are they up for sale because they're tired of being flooded, or are they just moving to someplace else? But that's neither here nor there. The impact of the flooding is always something that they see in the midst of the city of Tampa working on this water project to try to reduce flooding in the area. It's no match against storms like these.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say folks are familiar with it, but I don't know that you ever get used to, you know, trauma like this when you're dealing with a storm. I want to get back to some more video that we've grabbed right there from around the Bay Area. This is a live look. We're going to pull this up for you on Gulf Boulevard there, Sarah. So the roads, not necessarily dealing with it from this particular vantage point, Gulf Boulevard at Pinellas Bayway.
Yeah, this is not far from the Don Cesar. For my friends who are familiar with that area in Paso Grill Beach, you may know that this is also an area that has been undergoing a beach renourishment project. All that put on hold as the storm goes through the area. So we'll be also monitoring our beaches and how they look afterwards when the storm moves through. But right now, it doesn't appear that there's any flooding here at the Gulf Boulevard and Pinellas Bayway, and it appears that things are just not too many cars on the roadway either. So maybe people are heeding the warnings here.
Yeah, hopefully they've gotten to where they need to be, right? So you never know with those types of situations. I want to take you back outside to Sanibel Island for a live look. Now, we've shown you that area before because this is an area that typically has to negotiate with the storm damage when it comes to situations like this. You see that tree in the center of your screen. That's the wind heavy at work. Yeah,
we saw this area really get hit hard a couple years ago with Hurricane Ian. The bridge over to Sanibel totally destroyed. It just recently back up and running. So this is something we're going to be keeping our eyes on and watching the track of this storm and making sure that people here in this area stay safe. I know that many people still just now getting back on their feet after that storm several years ago.
Now, Sarah, I know you're from Hernando County, right? Okay,
yeah.
so those are your stomping grounds. I say that to say this. You've seen plenty of hurricanes, but Bobby Deskins tells us all the time, it only takes one.
It does. It only takes one, and that was their one, that Hurricane Ian passing through the area there near Fort Myers and Sanibel Island. So again, I know a lot of people are watching the warning, watching the storm as it continues to move through, really paying close attention to the weather as we are here.
And more recent history, we're talking about Hurricane Idalia.
Something you can click on by going to our website.
Power outages.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that too, but yeah, 10tampabay.com. Sorry to cut you off there.
No, let's talk about the power outages.
Yeah, we're getting updates in our ear as we're periodically giving you the information. So we're talking about outages. Do we have some numbers for our friends at home?
Okay, so taking a look at your screens here, you can see the 1K, that's about 1,000 outages for our people who live in Pinellas County. You can see other areas towards Polk County, about 2,000 people dealing with some power outages. This is from Duke Energy. So heads up, we're getting a wider view of our Tampa Bay area. That includes areas of Pinellas County, all Duke Energy customers dealing with some power outages this morning, even into Pasco County, and for our people in Hernando County, not Hernando, Hillsborough County as well, dealing with some power outages. Kind of hard to see on the screen here, but as we get a closer look, about 500 people there in Hillsborough County, and couple people that you can look at for yourself and see the numbers on your screen.
We'll get you some readers. I need them too. I need them. But unfortunately, we expect those numbers to climb, right? That is why we told our friends at home that we've got crews scattered across the way with linesmen to try and rectify that situation for our neighbors. That's also why we told people, about that hurricane kit. We have been talking about this for months, and it doesn't seem like it's necessary when there's nothing happening, nothing falling from the sky, no rain or anything like that, but the water, the canned goods, the can opener, all of that stuff,
the
because
batteries,
of the power outages,
the radio,
the batteries.
Things like that. We were also talking about when these storms have the potential to produce tornadoes, which is something you're familiar with where you're from.
Yeah.
And so local officials were telling people to heed those warnings as well, to get to the innermost part of your home.
Yeah, innermost part of your home. I've got loads of notes because this is such an ever-changing situation, but we're dealing with a tornado watch. Bobby Deskins talked about that. Storm surge, high winds, and we have another live look for you, I believe, right? I want to pull that up so you can see where we're talking about. Memorial Causeway at Bay Avenue. That is in Clearwater, Sarah. Yeah,
so for people headed through Clearwater, it's a beautiful shot of Clearwater this afternoon. Shaky camera. It looks like lots of people are not on the roadways, and that's good news as you're going to be headed over to Clearwater Beach. Not a place you want to go to. See that person headed towards the beach right there. But this is in a mandatory evacuation zone along the water there. We're going to have Clearwater police out and about warning people to stay off the roads. They're already putting out some updates from Clearwater about some flooded roadways that they've seen through the area. So heads up for people if you're going to be in Clearwater today. Not a time to go check out the beach because it's not necessarily the safest thing for you.
Yeah, and this is going to be a stark contrast as this storm we continue to track. Our weather team tracking this storm. It's going to look a lot worse as we progress through the day. I want to take you back out to St. Pete Beach, though, give you this vantage point as well. That is a live look, and you see the waves coming in there. The storm surge, that is the big story, Sarah, as we're talking about a water event. Historic storm surge. We're talking 10 to 15 feet. A vantage point from right there on St. Pete Beach, but people may be wondering, when we talk about 10 feet at the minimum, right?
Yeah.
How high is that? You can't really fathom that. That is a basketball hoop, 10 feet off the ground or higher.
Exactly. St. Petersburg putting out some alerts for people to be focused on the storm's path and don't get overly focused on like the short-term wobbles of its track or false eye locations. Tune into us here on 10 Tampa Bay as our meteorologists continue to track this. They're also limiting access right now to several places in Pinellas County, in St. Pete, Shore Acres, Snell Isle. Only residents who live in these areas right now are going to be able to enter because of the vulnerability of the water and the roads and already starting to see flooded streets streets through those areas, through those neighborhoods.
Yeah, great resources, and you know we've got your back here. You know we appreciate you sticking with us. Time now 3:33, 3:34 now. As we keep you informed, prepared, and connected, we have an entire weather team here. We have reporters scattered across the viewing area to make sure that you get the information you need. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Frank Wiley.
And I'm Sarah Rosario. We've been here all day long giving you wall-to-wall coverage is what we call it here in the news world, where we're continuing to keep you updated on the impacts of Hurricane Helene and the potential to impact your neighborhood as well, which is what we know you care about, and we care about where you live as well. We're going to give you live looks at what we're seeing all across the Tampa Bay area. That's what we've been doing so far, so let's do that again. Here's another live look. Gulf to Bay Boulevard at Lake Drive. Hello, for my friends who live in Pinellas County. It's looking good. And when I say looking good, not too many cars on the roadways. Obviously not an area that is going to be dealing with flooding right now at this moment, as we don't see any impacts from the storm right now, but we see the wind, and that's something that we do expect to get stronger. We see the wind because we see the trees, and you say it's looking good. It's all relative at this hour compared to the other live shots that we shared with you at home. It didn't look like that. Gray skies, a lot of water on the roadway, but the governor talking about this earlier this morning, all the trees, the canopy, we love that. We love the shade that it provides and all the other things that the trees do for us, but oversaturated ground. And a word that we've heard this morning a lot, inundated with all the water coming in. Then you see the wind. You saw what it was doing to the trees. As that continues throughout the day, that starts to topple those trees. Yeah, and as you're trying to say, where can I go? There's a lot of places across Tampa Bay area that are closed. Things like your local public store may be closed. Several fire stations evacuated already because those were in the evacuation zone A. Anyone who lives in evacuation zone, mandatory. It's called Zone A, but there's mandatory evacuations for people who live in Zone A. So check it out. If you live there, you got to get out. Yeah. I want to get back to Chris Hurst as we talk about evacuating. He promised us he was going to change his spot because he saw the danger with that vantage point. And Chris, the wind was a problem earlier. It's a bigger problem now.
Yeah, the sustained wind gusts really feel like they're at gale force at this point, Frank. We are here still at Nokomis Park, where the North Jetty now is covered with water. The beach is covered with water. And I'm going to turn you around here. This is the parking lot at the park, and we still have people now who are out here trying to take pictures. The water from the Gulf now fully into the jetty, pushing water onto the parking lot, and now it's actually starting to impact some cars. And remember too, the erosion, it does not take very much. It's just sand and shells here. So we're starting to actually see the soil, the sand below the parking blocks actually start to wash out. So we're having dangerous conditions. This looks eerily familiar to what we saw during Debbie when the similar thing happened here, although a lot of that was also precipitated by the rain. But you look over at the South Jetty where the waves are just crashing over. It normally does not look anything like this. It's not this foamy. There aren't white caps in the waterway, in the inlet for the jetty. Now we know in Sarasota County there are also roads that are washed out, that also washed out during Debbie. That would be North Cedar Key Road, also Casey Key Road, Minnesota Beach Road washed out and closed at this point. And I'm just going to step out and Tim's going to show you what it looks like. I mean, people now trying to figure out if their car is submerged here. They were out. They were the thrill seekers. They were the ones who wanted to come and see what this all looked like. And a lot of them are paying the price for that curiosity here in Sarasota County. We are sort of the bellwether, the sentinel for how bad conditions could get later on as this storm comes up from the south and pushes north. So conditions along the coastline in Sarasota County rapidly deteriorating here in the 3 o'clock hour. That's going to continue on overnight and after the sun goes down. And so if you are north of here, get ready, get prepared, because the storm surge, the very intense sustained winds will be on your doorstep soon. Now back to you in the studio as we try to get to, I think, another safer location here for the next time we talk to you. Yeah, Chris, are you able to tell us, are officials out there saying, hey guys, you got to get off this beach, like it's time now, things are getting bad? Look, it's Sarasota County, and so many people have been dealing with this for so many years, and there is definitely a nature enthusiast outdoor sentimentality when we're talking about, you know, Sarasota, Manatee counties. With that being said, no, I had one sheriff's deputy out here, and he was like, I don't have the power to tell anybody to get
off of the park to get off of the jetty. So right now, we haven't seen any emergency crews out here telling people they need to leave. As of right now, the park is still open. People are still just milling around in this parking lot as the water now is starting to creep over into the parking lot. With this road, this sidewalk that goes out to the jetty, it's washed out again. Happened 6 weeks ago with Debbie. So please heed the warnings. Stay inside, especially coastal areas and in Sarasota County.
That is quite the contrast right there.
Yeah.
You've got a stern warning, and then you've got other people running to the situation.
Yeah, people are always going to be people. Chris, great job out there. Thank you for all you're doing, giving us updates from Sarasota.
I want to give you a live look at Bellwether Beach right now to show you what we're looking at. So you do see the white caps right there, the storm surge, the wind whipping the trees right there, and those boats. Hopefully they're secured. And as we looked at that car in that live shot for Chris, just hoping that they can move that vehicle and we don't find it underwater later.
Oh yeah, you always see that during storms. You see the cars that were washed out to sea. You see all type boats that are highly damaged. So it's a reason that you need to just anchor down your boat. Don't put your car over there. Oh, something that is important, if you live in a low-lying area, all of the garages, at least in the city of Tampa, are open. Like in Ybor City, if you live in an area where it floods or portions of Tampa,
great information.
You can go and park your car in the city garages. They're going to be open for you. So you won't get you won't get a charge or anything like that. Those garages are available.
An important note there. And, you know, Chris Hurst had to move. He's going to move again to make sure he's in a safe space. We just spoke with Hannah Deneen a few moments ago, about 20 minutes ago, and she had a lot of company, some of the officials there, as they were answering some of her questions. Then she released them to go do what they need to do to keep people safe at home. Where exactly is Hannah right now? Hernando County. Hannah, I know you're there in Hernando County. You just got a notepad full of information from officials in terms of what people need to do. What are you seeing at this hour?
I'm at the Hernando County Beach boat ramp. This is an area where we typically see a lot of flooding. I was here during Hurricane Debbie, and that was certainly the case in Hernando County. They are expecting around 10 feet of storm surge, and I was just with some county commissioners, and they gave me a great visual to demonstrate this. So they're really familiar with this boat ramp. They tell me the top of this black pole here represents where the water will be at 8 feet of storm surge. For context, I'm 5'7", so I would be underwater in this storm surge standing on this boat ramp here. Now, it's important to know that in Hernando County, there are mandatory evacuation notices in place for Zone A, B, and C, as well as manufactured homes, RVs, or mobile homes. And again, that is not a casual suggestion. That is a recommendation that is intended to save lives. Now, we are going to stay out here as this water is expected to come in over the next several hours. You can hear the wind picking up here at the Hernando Beach boat ramp. We're now live from Hernando County. Hannah Deneen, 10 Tampa Bay.
Yeah, thank you, Hannah. I do want to ask you one quick question. Any idea on when local officials are going to start closing roads over there? I don't see it lapping actually up onto where you are right now, but this is an area you mentioned prone to flooding.
Yeah.
Sarah, over the course of the day, I've heard 8 o'clock thrown out as a time that they are concerned about a lot of the storm surge starting to blow in here. But I will certainly ask officials to get a better sense of the timeline as they're getting more updated information.
That makes sense, Hannah. Thank you so much. Live for us this afternoon in Hernando County. Great job.
Hannah Deneen pointing out 5'7" and feeling short with those rising waters out there. I want to take you back out to this live look right here at the southernmost point. Monitor that right there, because that kind of lets us know that is what's headed our way. And we've already seen some of the damage that we're seeing up here in the Bay Area.
Yeah, the southernmost point, not necessarily in the storm's path, but it is an area that is feeling the impacts of the storm, as local officials warning people to get out of that area by earlier on Wednesday. So something that we're going to be continuing to look at as well. We're also getting some new information about our Bay Area bridges. This just in, the Howard Franklin Bridge now closed as we continue to track the storm moving closer to our area. area.
Yeah, and you know, we told you about the Skyway around 2 o'clock or so thereabouts as that bridge closed with the high winds, 40-mile-per-hour winds, sustained winds. So that gives you an idea. And of course, at the peak of that bridge, the winds are stronger. So if you're wondering how strong those winds are out there, that really, you know, drives the point home.
Yeah, I want to get a look right now outside at the Howard Franklin Bridge so you can see what's going on out there right now. Again, this is 275. This has been under construction for quite some time. It appears that cars are driving. Once those cars get to the other side of the bridge, I'm sure that that's when local officials are going to say, like, okay, no more cars over here. FDOT putting out some information about the Howard Franklin Bridge ahead of this storm. The barges that, you know, they used to do the construction project, though they all put them in one area. They call it Barge Island, and they're housing all of those cranes and all of the construction projects. So they have a designated space where they've chained all these barges and those cranes together, because that becomes a huge hazard you see during storms. Those ginormous, all the construction equipment. They have 24 cranes, 72 barges. It covers nearly 10 acres, all of that tied down ahead of the storm, as we expect now the bridge to be closed.
Yeah, and if the water wasn't driving the point home for you, just look at the camera shot.
Yeah.
That's the wind. That's the situation. So imagine trying to keep your hands at 10 and 2 driving through something like that with the water and the wind to contend with.
Yeah.
I want to get back to Eric Glasser.
Yeah, he's joining us live from the city of Tampa in South Tampa, Bayshore Boulevard, where he's been, and now he's at Ben T. Davis. Hey, hi, Eric. Good to see you at Ben T. Davis Beach. The people behind you are having a good time.
Well, we're trying to move around to give people an idea of the different weather conditions around parts of town. So yes, we moved from Bayshore Boulevard, which you saw was already flooded, even despite the fact that we haven't had rain. And now we're at Ben T. Davis Beach along the Courtney Campbell Causeway. And take a look, you can see how high the surf is. It's no wonder that they've closed off the Howard Franklin Bridge, right? You can see the wind coming across the bay, and without buildings and trees and other things to block the wind, you really get a sense of how it is starting to pick up now. Just look at the surf, whitecaps, right, in the bay, high seas, 3 to 5 foot waves coming crashing. There is no beach at Ben T. Davis Beach right now. It is all inundated with that water coming in from the storm surge. The kids are having a good time with it, leaning up into the wind and across from it. You can see behind them what you were talking about, that Barge Island, all the cranes from the other bridge to our south, the one that you guys were talking about, the Howard Franklin. Those cranes are from the construction project, as you said, and they don't want them banging into anything and doing any damage before that bridge gets open as it nears its completion. So that's why they have all of those cranes in that safe area. But again, you can see the conditions out here right now. Waves crashing up against the area where people would normally be driving. Wind very, very strong up in the trees. You can sort of get a feel for just how strong the wind has picked up now. And since the Howard Franklin has closed down, it may just be a matter of time now before the Courtney Campbell does as well. I can tell you that as you look down the beach, what there is of it, with the water crashing up against very close to the roadway at this point, there may come a time where it does go ahead and overtake it, and that would of course make it impossible for people to be able to drive safely. So it may just be a matter of time at this point. But this is just a really good idea, and it gives you an indication of just what the weather conditions are, how they are continuing to deteriorate. A few hours ago, people said, oh, it's kind of deceptive. We had a blue sky. There's no blue sky now. It's all gray. It's starting to bubble up. And you can definitely sense the amount of wind that we're having. Sometimes it's difficult to be able to see it as we're just standing here, but when you look at that water and when you can see those waves, you really get an idea for just how much the wind has picked up. I'm going to cross my fingers and say that right now we haven't seen that much rain. We don't need it. If we're going to be getting a storm surge, there's going to be plenty of flooding. So the longer the rain can hold off, the better. We haven't really seen too many of the bands move right through here in Tampa, but they're on the way. So do what you need to do, get back inside if you can, but these are the conditions that are rolling into our area. Live at Ben T. Davis Beach, Eric Glasser, 10 Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Thank you, Eric. Yeah, we're crossing our fingers as well.
Yes, we are. Right
it
there
is
with
so
them.
cute to see those kids out there, but then you're thinking, oh gosh, y'all got to get out of there. You cannot be. I mean, it's nice when people are having a great time, but you think of the dangers that they put themselves in.
Yeah, that wind can knock you off your feet too.
Oh,
so
yeah.
if you're in an elevated space, and you know what, we adjust our microphones so that we can make sure we get that clear sound for you. So as loud as that was, just know it is that windy out there.
Yeah.
Our engineers doing their part to make sure that that sound comes through clearly. But I want to take you back out live for this shot right here along the Howard Franklin. Sarah.
Oh my goodness.
If you didn't know any better, you wouldn't know that that's a roadway.
No, I mean, this is an area, so many people drive the Howard Franklin Bridge, and it is now closed because of the impact from Hurricane Helene moving through our area, water lapping over the bridge. I-275, this option from Tampa to Hillsborough, from Hillsborough County to Pinellas County, no longer an option for our drivers.
Hope nobody gets stalled
I do
out right
see
there.
people driving on that though right now, even though they're telling us that it is. Oh, it says it. Okay, so there's a trooper on the left saying with the lights flashing, warning people.
Yeah, you don't want to get stalled out right there, and you never know the long-term damage to your vehicle. You could lose a lot of functionality with your vehicle trying to drive through something like that. If you don't know now and you did it, you may know next week or tomorrow, right?
And we're keeping you updated on all the road closures that we're getting as they come into our newsroom. So the Howard Franklin Bridge shut down, the Sunshine Skyway Bridge is shut down as well. We're also giving you updates on power outages as those come in as well. We do. TECO just reporting more than 10,000 power outages from TECO.
Yeah, 10,600 customers without power. That is, of course, why we urge folks at home to tell a friend to get that free 10 Tampa Bay app so you can stay up to date with the latest bits of information. And where are we headed right now?
So now the St. Pete Pier. We want to give you a look out at the St. Pete Pier, where we're getting some new information that the St. Pete Pier is now closed. A very popular spot for people in Pinellas County just loving to get the view of our area. Today is not the day to get the view, my friend.
No,
you
not
need to
today.
just pick on another day. You have lots of them here in Florida to get a good view, and today's not the one.
Yeah, we made it plain for you right there on the bottom left corner. St. Pete Pier closed. All right, I want to turn to our friend in the weather department, Colleen Campbell, standing by with an update on this storm situation. Hurricane Helene, rapidly intensifying storm. You guys have been saying that for hours now. What are we looking like?
Hey, Frank and Sarah. Yeah, so the latest update, and I'm going to have you guys switch me over to 1. I know I said I was on 2 earlier, those of you in the control room. But Hurricane Helene, the latest update was upgraded to a Category 3 storm. That Category 3 storm is coming very close, brushing against our coast right now. If you guys could switch me over to Max 1, that would be great. If not, I can just go off of this graphic. There we go. Thank you. All right, so here's the latest. Hurricane Helene, you see how it went from that Category 1 status that it formed at, and now it's at that Category 3. Notice the pressure now at 959 millibars. Somebody did write in last night and say, what do you talk about when lowering pressure? Well, we look for lowering pressure when we have a storm that is intensifying and getting stronger. We don't want that pressure number to drop. When it starts to rise up a little bit, that's when we have storms that are weakening, but that is not the case here with Helene. So right now, just going off our measuring tool here on our in-house model, it's about 135 miles off the coast to the southwest, the eye of the storm. Of course, this is a big storm. We've been talking about how large it is, and those outer rain bands extend way beyond the peninsula, way beyond the panhandle, outside of the state. We saw that yesterday, right? Even the cloud tops. As we move in a little bit closer here, as a couple of you have noticed, most of the rain is along the coast, just brushing into our counties, but that doesn't mean we're done with the rain. We still are expecting those rainy bands to continue into Friday morning at least. But again, our main concern has been the storm surge. That's what we keep telling you about. So right now, winds are really picking up the speed here. A couple of different wind readings. We have 38 to 40 mile per hour winds, but even stronger in some spots. Look at this, Sarasota, 53 mile per hour winds, St. Pete, 54. And I wouldn't be surprised if we have winds that are brushing against 60 right now. And of course, those gusts will be even stronger than that. As we look at this radius here, we've been talking about this as well, this yellow circle taking up the entire peninsula. What that is telling you is we have tropical storm force winds that are being felt across the state entirely. This yellow circle here, that's where the winds are having that impact across the state, even as the storm continues its trek up northward. Now, the closer that you get to the eye, obviously the winds are going to be stronger. That orange circle getting to 58 mile per hour winds, and then of course that red, you're talking hurricane force winds. But look at this. As we move into about 8 o'clock tonight, this is why we keep warning about the storm surge and how the flooding that you're seeing right now, it's just the start of this. It's kind of the tip of the iceberg, if you will, because we have some winds that are changing direction. So far, winds have been coming in from the southeast. And we've also had lower tide stages, but as we move into later on tonight, look at this, the winds are pushing in from the southwest. That's when you get that onshore water, and that's when it becomes a problem for storm surge. So again, we're looking at the window for storm surge to really intensify as we move into tonight, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, and then eventually the storm is going to continue up to the north, but impacts will still be felt in the term of rain and that surge. It will take a while for that water to recede. Of course, the track does bring it out to portions of Tennessee, which is just amazing the next couple of days. But let's talk about the wind gusts again. So look at this. This is over the next couple hours. This is just another way to look at it, and this is just for Tampa. You see the winds jumping up to the mid-60s and then eventually the upper 70s, still coming in from the southeast on this particular model. But you notice around, here we go, 9, 10 o'clock, the winds are starting to change direction, and areas further south of Tampa Bay will start to feel those winds from the southwest. And of course, we will catch up to that too. But again, we're looking at the timeline around 8, 9 o'clock. Here's the latest with the storm surge numbers, which have not changed. We are still expecting 15 to 20 feet storm surge possible near that landfall. Notice that the cone did get a little bit skinnier here, but you don't want to just focus on the cone because the impacts, especially with a storm this large, can be felt outside of that cone. The cone is just giving you an idea where the center of the storm is going to lie. So as we look at the rest of the storm surge here, again, Citrus County under that 10 to 15 foot storm surge threat. Also 8 to 12 feet in Pasco and Hernando, and then in Tampa Bay 5 to 8, 4 to 7 in Manatee and Sarasota. And although those numbers are lower, that doesn't mean that you take this any lighter, right? Because these are still areas that are very vulnerable and bruised from Debbie. So we have to keep that in mind. Very saturated ground out there. Forecasted rainfall. This is going into Saturday. Again, we still will have those outer rainy bands working through our region as we move into Friday and even Saturday. It's not going to be a beautiful day all of a sudden. I know earlier a lot of you were just basking in the sunshine and living in the moment and loving it and saying, where is the storm? But we're just getting brushed by it right now. As I just showed, it's still 140 miles, 135 miles off the coast. Out to the west, southwest. As we look at the track here, again, we have those hurricane warnings highlighted in that hot pink color. The blue would be those tropical storm warnings, extending a good portion up the southeast here of the states. But of course, we're concerned with that landfall, which we are expecting later on tonight near the Big Bend area. So what's a big three? I'm going to wrap up with this. Landfall as a category 3. Could be a high-end category 3 if it continues to intensify. Right now, it looks like it is a lower category 3 storm. We had that update again earlier this afternoon where it did intensify to that Cat 3 status. Record storm surge, we know that from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. So the storm surge that you're seeing right now, just the start of it. And then we have those bands of rain and winds that will continue throughout Friday morning, really. So it's not going to be a rain event. It's mainly a wind event, and the wind, of course, ties into the storm surge, and that's why we want everybody to be careful, and please listen to those evacuation orders. It's too late to evacuate now. You want to make sure you have the highest ground possible if you are still in that evacuation zone and you did not listen to those warnings. Also, a couple people asked about the mobile home safety. I did want to go over this really fast. So the mobile homes, it's evacuations for every area, not just Zone A. And the reason for that is those mobile homes, those manufactured homes, I don't care how best built they are, they can be airborne and quickly lifted into the air with just strong wind gusts. It doesn't take a tornadic wind. It can be straight line winds. Those mobile homes are not made for that. Not to mention that it could be washed away as well with storm surge. So you have kind of a double whammy there. You have the winds, which could be straight line or tornadic, a threat for those mobile homes. And you also have the threat of storm surge. Of course, be safe and keep sending those photos and videos to us in a safe location. And we will try to share that. We love seeing your stuff, but we want you to be safe and ride out this storm with us in the best way that you can. All right, I'm going to toss it back to you guys.
Thanks, Colleen. And I'm Dave Wagner, along here with Courtney Robinson. And we're just kind of getting things started on our end here. We're going to be with you for the next, probably 10 or 12 hours or so. I want to take a look at the Howard Franklin Bridge right now. This gives you an idea of what's happening in terms of our situation deteriorating out there. The Howard Franklin Bridge is closed, and you can see why. I went over this bridge, I guess, at about 10 o'clock this morning, and waves were lapping up. Now you can tell it is really impacting traffic.
And you can see that one car making it over. We did talk with Florida Highway Patrol. They say once they close these bridges, they are closed. They're not going to reopen and close again. So the Howard Franklin closing to traffic. We also have the Skyway Bridge that has also been closed. We have not heard anything about the Gandy just yet. But again, you can see what's happening right there as you come over the hump and start to go into Tampa. All of that water on the roadway. You know, you just don't want to be out there. If you need to evacuate, if you need to get out, you need to do that now.
Yeah, if it's safe. If it's safe to do that. And keep in mind here, the worst is still to come here. We're really looking, I was talking to Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskins here, really looking between 5 p.m. this evening and 2 a.m. tomorrow morning for the worst of the impact. So what you're seeing right now, this is not the worst of it, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. But we're here every step of the way to keep you informed, prepared, and connected.
And looking around, I've had friends sharing different videos with me of where they are, and you know, low tide right now, but it's what would be a very normal high tide or even a high tide. And I know we have Aaron Parsegian, who's up in Crystal River, one of the areas where we are expecting to see just some of the worst storm surge. Aaron.
Yeah, Courtney, we're right off US 19, the main stretch of road here in Crystal River downtown. This is St. John's Tavern, a popular spot that we've visited quite a bit. You can see the precautions they are taking with the potential for historic storm surge in this area. You can see they are all boarded up. Even some of these boards now have Bible verses written on them. They're taking this seriously because this is an area that's dealt with flooding in the past and storm surge in the past. Just over a month ago, we were here for Hurricane Debbie. And at this point, there was water probably up to my boots just on this sidewalk. Luckily, most of these businesses were spared at that point, only an inch of water really getting in them. But that was not the case more than a year ago during Hurricane Idalia when the storm surge was around 7 feet, and that sent several inches into some of these businesses. Now we're talking about even more, forecasted potential for potentially double that in this area, and that's going to be the problems and the concerns coming as we get later into the night. Take a look. This is why they're so prepared here downtown. We're right in that evacuation zone where storm surge is the utmost concern, and that's why emergency officials are hoping people heed those warnings to get out of town. Our hotel ourselves, we're staying in Lecanto, about 20 minutes east of here on more higher land. And in our hotel is a lot of evacuees from this very area living around Kings Bay who've been through this flooding before. And what they tell us is they know what can come. They're not taking any chances. And this forecast itself is causing some anxiety for them. So they're going to do the best thing and stay safe elsewhere. That's a recommendation from everyone. You can see they're making preparations for what could come later tonight.
Yeah. Aaron, we're looking behind you here, and we do see cars driving behind you there. Just kind of wondering, are those folks, you know, evacuating? What are they doing? Are people just out kind of sightseeing a little bit and seeing what's going on in terms of the weather?
Yeah, that's exactly the thing, Dave. I think a lot of people are coming here trying to see what's going on. Now, a lot of these people live around here. They're used to seeing it, and a lot of the people coming up to us have said, oh, yeah, this is going to be an area that floods later on. We're very familiar with that. You know, hours into the night, we probably couldn't be standing here, definitely not parked here. A lot of these people driving on US 19 are kind of just going throughout the area to see where things are at right now. The water has started to rise a little bit in Kings Bay, but nothing that could cause any flooding to this point. That's going to be the concern later. But even last storm for Hurricane Debbie, when we were here just over a month ago at the beginning of August, they shut off part of US 19, this main stretch, because the water was starting to approach that way. That hasn't been done yet. But that could likely come when we're talking about the levels that are potentially forecasted for tonight.
In Crystal River, Aaron, thank you. And of course, we have crews up and down the area for us on the coast. The state of Florida is going to be impacted by this no matter where you are.
This is such a big storm when you look at it, you know, hundreds of miles wide. It is it's long, it's wide, and it's really going to affect the state every part of the state in one way or another.
Exactly. And we have some video right now that we want to share for you from Fort Myers. Fort Myers, of course, feeling that before us, slightly before us. You can look right here. I think this is Fort Myers Beach. Wow. A lot of wind there. Got the waves, you know, just churning and burning.
Yeah, and obviously the storm is closer to them right now. This is an area that was devastated by Hurricane Ian. You and I were down there, Courtney, and you know just how sad that was. And we're talking about storm surge here that surpasses that, which is really terrifying.
And when you saw the aftermath of that surge when it came to Ian, I mean, it really was. It was like a war zone when we were down there. And so you think about what's to come with Helene. And right now, I know it's been said, and you can see that when you're at home watching. Right now, it is that calm before the storm. There's not a lot of rain that's coming down right now. You can see behind, you see the wind kind of starting to pick up. But we have not seen what Helene is going to unleash on our area, and also what's to come in that Big Bend area. I
was talking to the state CFO, Jimmy Petronas, the other day, and he said that you will not find many people down in Fort Myers who say, you know, they wish they didn't evacuate. They all say, you know, after that storm, they know the importance of evacuating. This window is really beginning to get closer and closer, where if you can go safely, you need to go to a safe place. If you feel that the place you're in right now is not safe during a storm.
And it's important to do that now because we are starting to fight, right, with daylight hours. And as we start to see the water really rising, it's going to be dark. Right. And so you want to make sure that you know, make that call now. You won't regret making that call. You're going to go, be somewhere safe. There are so many shelters open, so go ahead and make that call. I was talking about that kind of that eerie calm before the storm. I want to share some video from Rocky Point in Tampa. You know, right now it's low tide. Bobby Deskins, you're over there, right? Low tide right about now. So you can see this is low tide. But this is what would be a very normal high tide for them. So this is where the water is low tide. You know, you can only really imagine what that's going to look like once we start to see that surge.
Yeah, we appreciate viewers sending this in to us here because it really helps get a perspective all around our area. We saw Bayshore Boulevard in Tampa earlier, and the high tide and the impact it had. And you know, earlier we saw just how high the water was in Tampa Bay, going across the Howard Franklin Bridge, and we're going to kind of see, you know, the water go up and down, but as we get into, you know, 5 p.m. to 2 a.m., that's when the storm surge is really going to impact us.
There's a lot of water.
Yeah.
A lot of water, and we've said it a million times, right? You can you can run from the water, right? Hide from the wind. Right. So now's the time to make those decisions, and we've already seen so many areas impacted by that. A lot of road closures as well down in Sarasota. That is one thing that we are seeing right now with some of our crews. I think we have a road closure down there. If we have that video, there you go. So you can, you know, just. You don't know how deep that is when you look at it, right, Dave? Right,
and all over our area, we're seeing this up and down the beach communities. We're seeing it in Shore Acres, the entrance from Shore Acres into Snell Isle there. We're told that road is closed. I know there's a couple of roads that go in there, but access is very limited. So some of these areas regularly see some water, even during high tide, but this is going to be unusually high during this storm. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that in all these communities. We have people fanned out all across the area, trying to spread them out a bit so we get a pretty good perspective as to what's going on.
Yeah, let's take a look at the Courtney Campbell Causeway right now. You know, we talked about the Howard Franklin and the Skyway Bridge being closed. Courtney Campbell is one of those areas when we see the bay really kicking up, as you can see right there. The roadway is impacted by that. And so, yes, while there are some vehicles out and about, you can also see that water. FHP has not closed the Courtney Campbell as of yet, but I would say it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, just by the camera shaking there, you can tell how windy it is out there, and it's driving water up onto the beach and getting close to the road. So we'll keep you posted on that. The St. Pete Pier, by the way, also closed. Not a big surprise there. Water lapping up on the pier, not a safe place for people. Doesn't usually close, but in this case, they want to make sure people are safe, and not a good place to go right now.
You know, one of the things that's really stuck out to me as I've watched our coverage throughout the day is that water. You know, yes, it's high. Yes, these are areas that we do often see high water, some flooding, and maybe during a high tide, like a king tide. but keep in mind, it wasn't pouring down rain. We didn't have that.
Right.
So, and to already see that on Bayshore and a lot of these areas closed, you do have to kind of take a deep breath and say, okay, there's more water to come, and there's going to be a lot of areas impacted. One of those areas, Tarpon Springs.
Yeah, and David Shealy is up there right now. Let's check in with David. David, what are you seeing there? Looks like some folks are preparing for the storm. Other places, it appears, aren't boarded up at all.
Yeah, Dave, so preparations have already started here at the Sponge Docks in Tarpon Springs. We have sandbags in front of the doors of the businesses right here by the docks. And so far, it's a bit of a mixed scene because you do have the businesses being closed, but there are people who are walking along these sidewalks, kind of walking alongside the water. There's actually some people behind the camera right now that they've been out here kind of seeing the sights or taking in the wind before, I guess, things get a little bit more dangerous. We actually spoke to a couple of people who are out here. There was a group of guys out here walking around, taking in everything, because to them, this was probably the only thing they could do today before they have to evacuate if it gets a little bit more dangerous.
We were just going to come out here, just walk around, wait till it starts raining, see if we can see the storm surge, how high it gets.
Actually, on my road down towards Fred Howard Park, it's actually been up to my knees before. So that's about as high as I've seen it on my road. And of course, out here around the Sponge Docks, it's been about that high too, a few feet.
Concern, it's not really that high. I'd say a 0 out of 10. But maybe if it gets a little bit higher, it's just, might get a little bit nervous for just the shops and stuff.
So as you heard there, concern isn't too high from some of the people, but preparations, again, are already underway in Tarpon Springs with sandbags in front of the businesses. All the businesses right here that we've seen right by the docks are closed. There are some businesses open along US 19. I did speak to one store owner earlier today, and all he was doing was making sure everything in the shop was okay so that he could then close early this afternoon and leave. So now I do believe his shop is now closed, and he said his biggest concern really is power outage, because that could have an effect on his business and everything that he has there. Not so much the floodwaters, but in case there are floodwaters, again, sandbags, some businesses are boarded up, some are not. So it's a little bit mixed, and as of the weather conditions, it's just windy right now. We did have a small patch of rain, but other than that, the wind is the top thing that we've been dealing with since we've been out here by the docks.
All right, David, and we did hear authorities say, look, if you live west of US 19, you do need to evacuate regardless of what zone you're in. David, you talked a little bit about the concern we heard from one of the gentlemen that you talked to earlier saying, yeah, I'm really concerned about the stores. But what about all those boats? What about the marina? Have you seen anything extra happening there? I know a lot of people do live on their boats too.
Yeah, so we talked to one gentleman who actually works on one of these boats. He's not the owner of the boat, but he works on the boat, and said he's put a couple more ropes on the boat so that way the boat stays docked and it doesn't float away. Because during Hurricane Debbie, we actually did see a couple of boats start to float away into the Boca Ciega Bay. These boats here, they have tied them down with a little bit more extra rope to make sure that does not happen. In terms of preparations inside the boat, there's some sandbags inside some of the boats. Some of them are actually in the boats just in case they need to stay and do some more preparation. But as of right now, their concern level is about a 5 out of 10, and they think that it shouldn't be too bad, but they are prepared if it does get worse.
All right, David, thank you. David Shealy live for us in Tarpon Springs. David, thank you so much. And I think we've seen that it's a healthy level of concern, but then kind of that apathy of, I think it's okay. And I think we've been lulled into that with the weather we've seen
Sure,
today.
and we're all curiosity seekers.
Right,
I mean, we all are sort of interested in what's going on. This is a bit of a novelty here, but it reaches a point at some point where it's just dangerous. So the window is kind of closing on that. So make sure if you need to get out and can get out safely, you do that. Want to take you to St. Pete Beach right now, where they've had some flooding there. This is Dolphin Village right around here. That's if you know that there's a Publix there, number of restaurants, and it's a popular shopping spot. And I believe we're looking right there at that parking lot for the beach. As you're looking, you're sort of looking kind of southwest there on Gulf Boulevard.
And hearing from a lot of sheriffs, right? I can see people out, like you talked about, curiosity seekers maybe a walk on the beach there, but the window is closing, right? The window is closing, and you know, looking at St. Pete Beach now, it'll be interesting to see what that looks like just a few hours from now. I know we've talked about Shore Acres, Snell Isle. Those are areas where we do see that water, and they have already closed the entrances for those neighborhoods.
Yeah, Miguel Octavio standing by there. Let's check in with him right now.
We're over by the Shore Acres neighborhood here in St. Pete, and right now police have shut down Shore Acres. We know this is by the water, and you can see just why. This isn't even the worst of Helene right now, but water spilling over the street here in Shore Acres Boulevard Northeast. We know that this neighborhood has withstanded many storms from the past, including Debbie, including Idalia, and the major rain we got here. And something neighbors are asking people is please do not drive through these streets because the water can be pushed into these homes, making these conditions worse. And as our meteorologists keep mentioning here, this isn't even the worst of Helene, and a concern that a lot of first responders have is you don't know what's in that water, and you can just see how much flooding is taking place already here in Shore Acres. We're just going to step to the side to make sure this car has enough room to move out of the way here, but you can see the water's getting pushed over to this side. Neighbors around here do not want you to be driving through those flood waters over here. You can just see how much it's being pushed at the moment, and that is why neighbors are asking people to please evacuate, because this is an area that's vulnerable to these storms, and it could be potentially life-threatening. You know, we visited Shore Acres many times in the past, and we know that they took quite a hit during Hurricane Idalia. A lot of these homes took several feet of water inside. A lot of folks had to move out for months, and they worry that, according to the projections right now, this could be much worse. I spoke with the neighborhood association president of Shore Acres a few days ago, and he was concerned that not a lot of people living in this neighborhood was taking these evacuation orders seriously, and he's hoping that right now, by now, people are taking them seriously. They're in a safe space. We actually spoke with one woman who took those evacuation orders seriously. She's at a hotel closer inland. Here's some of what she had to say.
I was around for Idalia, and that caught a lot of people in St. Pete by surprise because we just thought it would be a little water in the street, and then it came into houses overnight. So this looks like it's setting up to be the same scenario where people didn't evacuate, and then we're going to get a high tide overnight, and that's a problem.
Now, as we speak here, if you're just tuning in, Shore Acres in St. Pete, it is shut off to people right now. Police have blocked off the roads. They say it's not safe, along with these low-lying coastal areas. They really are concerned about the storm surge that could be coming here. We already see flooding throughout here in Shore Acres Boulevard Northeast, and they are concerned these conditions are only going to get worse. So they're hoping that people are at a safe place right now away from these coastal areas. We'll keep you posted on the conditions right here in St. Pete. For now, reporting in Shore Acres, Miguel Octavio, 10 Tampa Bay.
You know, I know the city of St. Pete has tried very hard at times to try to mitigate the problems with flooding in Shore Acres, but I have friends who've been flooded there 3, 4, 5 times, and sometimes that happens in a year period. So they're constantly battling these floodwaters, even in high tide.
Right, and if you think about Shore Acres, this is now at least the third major storm, right, that they've had, that we've been through our area, and just, man, you just feel for all these people, and you know, it's all the way up our coast. You know, so many communities. Hurricane Helene is now a Category 3 hurricane. We do want to check in with Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskins. He, of course, tracking this, timing this all out, and Bobby, it's the sheer amount of water that is just so hard to wrap your mind around.
Yeah, it's a bigger storm. And so if you look back to Idalia, it says, oh, we just think there'll be a little bit of water in the street. Wasn't that big of a deal. 2 to 4 foot of surge is what we got from that. This is a bigger storm than Idalia. That will push around more water, than what Idalia did. So we're going to get more than 2 to 4 for just about everybody that gets storm surge. You can see downtown Tampa, the water's getting a little bit higher. What's actually happened in the last, say, hour or so, the water has come down. Remember, we're going towards low tide at around 5:20 p.m. or so, right in that range, right? The water has come down a little bit, but we kind of expect that. And then after 5:20, not only is the tide coming back in, and you can see these boats down here at Bellwether Beach Resort, that's on the sound side, obviously. That water is going to come up quickly. not only is it coming up, but it's going to come up quickly because the tide's coming up, plus the winds are starting to switch on us a little bit and pick up too. You can see the beach right now. We've got winds sustained at 30 miles per hour with gusts in the 40s, starting to get some in the 50s now as well. But the water, you can see now, is starting to get a little bit higher. I kind of got this camera view here so we can watch how high it gets. Should make it almost all the way to the parking lot, just about for that. So they're going to see the water coming up. Again, this will be later tonight. Hopefully we'll keep some power here and we'll be able to see this. Now, here are the forecast winds. Let's go out through 8 o'clock. See them all back up now from the south and southwest and gusting in the 60s and 50s and 70s. Look at that. This is the forecast model, but that's hurricane force wind gusts at St. Pete at 8 o'clock tonight, just after sunset, with the wind blowing onshore. That means not only is the tide coming up, that wind pushes a lot of water up quickly. This is going to happen quickly this evening. You're going to see our crews out there saying, oh, it just took about 30 minutes ago. It was way back there. Now it's all the way up here. That's what's going to happen. So it's been okay so far, already some flooding, but it's going to get worse. Then it's going to push up towards the south and the west, but the higher winds will move away from us as it goes. Now, live shot out at Van Wezel Performing Arts Hall. This is looking at the Ringling Causeway. The bridge there, that's the bridge going over to the right-hand side of your screen, is going to the beach. It has been blowing good out there. And every now and then you'll see some really good gusts, and it picks a lot of water up off the sound right there and blows it all off towards the right-hand side of the screen. So we're definitely seeing the winds pick up. These will turn more from the south-southeast, which you're seeing right there, which is left to right on your screen, and then more straight at our camera as we get closer to 5, 6 o'clock this evening. And that's really going to start pushing water levels, because that's kind of side shore right now for Sarasota, but the southwest wind is right on shore for them. Okay, now let's come back over to a computer. I want to talk about the storm surge. So I've been kind of drawing this. This is our tides, right? We're at this spot here where we're almost coming down just a little bit. There's our low tide, so we should be getting closer to it, but what's going to happen is it starts going to come back up. So 5 to 8 foot surge is what we're forecasting from the Hurricane Center. Now, I think we had the sheriff of Citrus County on that said, usually we think those numbers are kind of high, we expect a little less, right? I get that. I'm in that boat. But even 5 foot is more than what we have seen. And I think it could be more than that. So that's why this is really important. What the big deal about this is we haven't seen this in years, in decades, right? If that comes to, and that's not a lot for, numbers wise, but that's a lot for our area. So here are the numbers from the Hurricane Center, right? 5 to 8 for the Tampa Bay area, including Pinellas, 8 to 12 up into Pasco, and then 10 to 15 for Citrus County. Now, look at the storm surge forecast. These are the forecast numbers and the records. So Cedar Key, that's up north, right? Thinking about 11 foot. Now these numbers here are on the top end. So let's go to Clearwater. The highest one that we saw back in that storm of 93, the no-name storm, 4 feet. The top end is 8 feet. So even if we got to just 5 feet at Clearwater Beach, we haven't seen that since 1993. That's why this is a big deal. Okay, let me get out of the way here so you can read this a little bit better. Port Manatee, right? That's down on the southern side of the bay in Manatee County. Last time we had a high water was actually last year, 4 feet, less than that, right? A little more than 3.5. The bottom level we could see is about 4, which would be more than that, right? Which is more than the record. And we could go up to almost 7.5 feet. Downtown St. Pete, this is just, the actual sensor there is just south of downtown by the airport there. 3.97 back in 85. That was in August of 85. That was Hurricane Helene. That stayed offshore. It did a little loop-de-loop just off our coast and then went back towards the west-northwest. That gave us almost 4 feet. The forecast for St. Pete is 5 to 8. So again, that 8.2 is the very top end of the forecast, but just seeing 5 foot would still set a record there. Old Port, this is up in the bay, up in downtown Tampa area. The last time we saw the highest water was last year. It was 4 feet. We could double that. I don't think we quite double that, but I certainly think almost every one of these records goes. And tonight, we will set new records. That's why this is pretty serious. Now, this will come up very quickly, but it will take time to come down. Idalia, 2 to 4 foot, came up, went down. This will not be the case. It will come up quickly. It will slowly come down through the overnight hours. So let me show you this right here. This is data that we get from the National Hurricane Center, and you see all these colors here. These are from the model that says the areas that they think could, it's called potential storm surge, could flood, okay? And so I want to go here. I'm going to take some time here, guys, in the booth, if you don't mind. Look at the reds and the oranges, because those are generally the lowest areas. Most of what you see in red here, I would expect easily to be flooded tonight, okay? And then a lot of the orange will have water. The yellows, the blues, that's tougher, but that's literally the Hurricane Center running a model saying, like, yeah, we could get water almost up to Progress Village there, just west of 75, okay? Look at West Shore. That's West Shore and Gandy right there, right? That is likely to flood. Obviously, the south end of McDill, that's real low. We expect that. This is Bayshore. Look at Bayshore at TGH. It's right in this area, right in here. Bayshore coming around. That is likely to flood. The west side, you get up here. This is what's the beach there over there? It's always got dirty water. It's always got the warning for that.
Yeah, where Eric Glasser was earlier.
That's it. Benty Davis. There's the airport, right? Part of that could actually see some flooding. That's Howard Franklin Bridge. Obviously, the bridge is high enough, but the side of the bridge is not. Now, let's get over here to Shore Acres. Feather Sound is right up here behind the banner, but you get it's the same thing. There is 275. 4th Street is that yellow line right there. So does it get all the way to 4th Street? I don't think so, but there is the potential. But certainly that old northeast area, it's a little bit further. That's down in here. Most of that's elevated, especially around 4th Street. That's not an issue. But when you get up into that Shore Acres area and northward towards Gandy, that's going to flood. Now, South St. Pete, right there along the water where you expect it, we'll see the water, but inland just a little bit. Now, let's get out to the beaches. Look at this. Tierra Verde, right? Most of that area is likely to flood. Boca Ciega, get up to Reddington Shores. Now, on the beaches, a lot of the beaches are lower on the back side, on the intercoastal side, all right? Those areas have a better chance of getting water versus the beachfront and Gulf Boulevard. If we get water on Gulf Boulevard for most of our cameras, or for most of our locations, if water goes up to Gulf Boulevard, which some of them do, you're going to get a lot of water. All right? In fact, we've got a live camera. Is that what you're just saying now? There's Gulfport. Okay, so this is Gulfport, right? That is a rain band coming through, right? So the winds are picking up. They're supposed to, but even when the rain bands come through, you get even higher winds. They'll actually come down a little bit. But just looking at this and knowing where that camera is, that is still a south-southeast wind. And that wind's going to change a little bit. And when it changes, we'll get more water. It's starting to pile up there over in the road. This is from the old casino. Right on top of the old casino, looking off towards the east-northeast right there. And that, well, the sailboats that you see, the two of them up against the wall right there, they've been there. There is a new one in the mix over there that wasn't supposed to be there. And so we've already started to see some of the damage with that. And this just will continue to get windier. And I think it really gets going here, obviously, in the next hour, but then through about 9:30, 10:30 tonight. Then it will start to come down just a little bit. All right, now back over to our map here. Let's get up to Indian Rocks Beach. See, the front of the beach is actually not terrible. The backside is. Bel Air Bluffs, that's not an issue. It's very high, but there are some spots right there. Most area aren't there. Here's Feather Sound now. You can see that, okay? There's basically where you're heading out off due west, coming off the Howard Franklin Bridge. This area right here, the Bayside Bridge is right here. You've got St. Pete Clearwater Airport right there. Obviously, they're going to have some issues, potentially even on the runway. They're going to have to watch that. And then you get back out to Clearwater Beach, and you know, initially we were thinking Clearwater is going to be fine, but there will be some water, especially around the back side of the island. So if you live there with the docks in the back, oh, it's going to be very close. A lot of the houses themselves are built up a little bit, but the overall elevation, say in between the houses and things like that, could get some water. Now, Oldsmar. We are used to getting water. Ari Olds Park is there because that's where we're going to get a lot of water. But this is the Oldsmar area right in here. That will certainly flood. It has the potential to get up the Tampa Road in Oldsmar. I don't think that happens, but it'll be close. I do think it happens when you get east of Racetrack. That's Racetrack Road right there. East of there, you're basically looking at the creek, which really just allows a lot of water up. That will likely get shut down at some point, probably after sunset, 7:30, 8:30, that time frame. I think by that time the water level's up. So this is Tampa Road, or it's called Hillsborough Avenue, all the way down to Rocky Point. Most of those areas are going to get water. Now look, as I mentioned, if you live in one of these right here and you've got the house on the water with the dock, doesn't necessarily mean your house is going to get water, and it depends on how it's built up. Because I know a lot of those houses are fairly built up, but some aren't, and that's going to be a little bit more of an issue. Now, let's get up towards, well, Honeymoon, don't worry about that, Dunedin. Dunedin's going to be interesting because certainly the marina there is going to have water, but if you've ever been there, you kind of go uphill as you're walking from the Intracoastal back into downtown Dunedin. That area right up until you get up to Old US 19, I think is going to have some water. It's going to be very, very close to seeing that. Now, Tarpon Springs, just saw a live report out there right now. They're like, well, Tarpon Springs actually used to seeing water. But again, guys, this is not something that I've ever seen. I've been here 16 years, I've never seen this, right? You have to go back decades before you see some of the levels that we could see tonight. Newport Richey, there's US 19. See that? That red area, very good chance that we get flooding in that area.
Hey, Bobby.
Yeah.
As you're talking about, the timing of when we're going to get this, when is it going to go away?
Yeah, after midnight.
After midnight.
Slowly coming down.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that peak is going to be closer to about 9 through about 10, 11 o'clock p.m. tonight, and then slowly coming down. It's all about the wind driving it, but the tide's coming up. Guys, the tide's at high tide 2:15, 2:19 in the morning. So the wind will be coming down, and it'll try and let the water back out. But the tide's coming back out. Some of it will come back down, but it's not going to be a whole lot. So that's why it's a slower release of that water back out. Okay, Jasmine Estates, look at how all red it is just west of US 19. Hudson, mainly west of there too. The no-name storm back in 93, right? It was a squall line of thunderstorms that came in here. That pushed water all the way up to US 19. This has the potential to do that. Right? That was not forecast in 1993. It just happened, and you can't imagine how crazy that was. You also can't imagine how much else has been built here since then. All right, so there's a lot of property, a lot of real estate here that's going to have to watch for the water. Let's move up past Hernando Beach. This is Homosassa. Obviously, Homosassa, you know the drill, right? You're going to get some water. Sugar Mill Woods, though, you're east of 19. This turns into 98, but I think most of Sugar Mill Woods, a big neighborhood, is going to be fine, but that western side out by 19 is going to have some water. Then you get into Crystal River. This is 98, again, US 1998. I was looking at some data this week that suggested potentially 2 to 4 feet of water on the road there in 98, and it actually could be a little bit higher. And if you even think back even to Idalia, we had a live crew out there during Idalia, and there's literally while we were watching them, you could see the water coming up. It came up like that. That's going to happen there. They are closer to the higher winds. There'll be higher winds blowing in out of the southwest here than what we will see down in the Tampa Bay, the immediate metro area. And so they get not only more surge because of that, but it's super flat out here. It's hard to even take sailboats in and out of there, right? So that is another factor that they'll have to deal with. Now look, the biggest surge is going to be up here in the Big Bend area. I think Perry is like right in this area here. I think that's where the center might actually go. Notice if you've got interest back up here, notice how we don't have much surge here. And that's simply because you've got the counterclockwise flow, right? It's pushing wind in here on the east side of the eye, and then on the back side of the eye, it's actually blowing water out. So that's, again, this is just a model. This is from the Hurricane Center. This is their thought about what could happen. I don't think we get as much as what I showed you there. That's why I kind of focused on those red areas and red right up to the orange, because those are the lowest areas. Tornadoes, we've been watching for those. We've got one over on the East Coast, at least a threat for it. But you see these cells right in here? We're going to be watching those very, very closely because those could produce a couple of tornadoes. Now, rainfall estimates just starting to get started on that, but 3 to 6 inches right here along the immediate coast, along and west of I-75, although you get down in towards Lakewood Ranch, Myakka area, we will see a little bit more rain, probably about 3 to 6 inches for those folks as well. Guys?
Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskins walking us through what we're going to see and the timing of all of this. It is going to be a long night into the early morning hours, and then of course what is to come when we look at cleanup. You are joining us here on 10 Tampa Bay. I'm Courtney Robinson along with Dave Wagner, and we have evacuated our studios on Gandy Boulevard, evacuation zone. So we are here at our backup studio close to the Hard Rock here in Tampa. Safe place for all of us.
A little bit higher ground for us. Let's go to a place right now. As you head north, we know the storm is going to impact those areas a little more seriously. Let's check in with Hannah Denise. She is in Hernando County right now. Hannah, what are you seeing there and what has changed since you've been there?
Well, Dave, I am in a Hernando Beach neighborhood where they are all too familiar with the impacts of flooding and storm surge. At nearly every low-lying house, we've seen a version of this, where they have sandbags and tarps lining every point where water might get into their home so that they're able to protect their homes the best they can. Now, this is a neighborhood that was underwater during Hurricane Idalia. The low-lying homes were underwater during Idalia. We actually spoke with one family who just took off in a U-Haul. They packed up all their belongings into a U-Haul after they said they lost everything during Hurricane Idalia. This time around, not taking any chances, packing up as much as they could and moving to higher ground. And over here, our neighbor and our new friend Casey. Now, Casey, you have been working for the last 24 hours to prepare for this storm as well. Tell me about what this house normally looks like and what you've done over the last couple hours to get ready.
So normally we would have our bench out here. We have plants out here on the back. We have potted plants everywhere. On our back porch, it's got a hot tub. So we've taken the motor and the motherboard out of the hot tub. We've taken all the plants in, all the benches in. Basically anything outside that can become airborne is gone, and anything can get flooded or damaged when it gets wet, we've tried to move to higher ground. Same thing inside. Put the couches up, put all the stuff that was in the closets up on either beds or upstairs, and just got everything from downstairs upstairs that we need to.
A lot of work that it sounds like you're not unfamiliar with. You were home during Hurricane Idalia as well. What did you see during that storm?
So the funny thing of Idalia, you always think the water's going to come from the canal side. It actually, in this part of the neighborhood here, it came across the street. So the water comes up, you kind of watch it come up the driveway into the garage. You think, okay, stop. It doesn't stop. It keeps coming, and then eventually the back overflows and then it meets in the middle. And we had about 8 inches in the house for her and about 12 inches in the garage.
And I have to ask, this is the third time in about the last year now that you've probably had to do this song and dance of moving all of your stuff, getting ready for storm surge. How are you feeling as you're bracing for yet another big storm to hit your home?
Well, after the last flood, what I did is try to make the house a little more flood proof. So we didn't put carpet or tile down. We did an epoxy floor, it's attractive. So we tried to make everything as waterproof as possible. So if it comes in this time, as long as it doesn't go over 8 inches or 12 inches, we should be pretty good about just have to dry it out, not a lot of damages. We basically got rid of a lot of stuff, make sure we don't store stuff downstairs so that we don't have to spend days getting ready, hopefully just a day or a couple hours to get ready next time.
Smart, and unfortunate to have to learn those lessons, but it sounds like you've taken that knowledge from storms past and now preparing better for the future. Yeah. Thank you so much, Casey, and stay safe throughout the storm. For now, live in Hernando Beach, Hannah Denine, 10 Tampa Bay.
All right, Hannah, everybody approaches these storms differently. Hopefully if all of you are in a safe place right now, or feel safe in wherever you are, because we're reaching that point as we approach 5 o'clock today where it is potentially dangerous to move during the height of the storm.
That's right. You want to make sure that if that's going to a shelter just for tonight, and you can come back and take stock tomorrow, but put yourself and your family in a safe place this evening. And we've heard that from all of the sheriff's offices, all the law enforcement in our area. There's already power outages. We've seen some trees down. We've already seen that high water. And one of the areas where we've seen that, of course, is Shore Acres. Let's touch base with Miguel Octavio, who is live there for us. Miguel, you've been out there all day. You've covered so many storms where we've seen this water. How's it looking right now?
Well, Courtney, right now we're in St. Pete. There are several streets that are flooded and closed to the public. And of course, here in Shore Acres, you are not allowed to go into this coastal low-lying neighborhood at the moment. We're here in Shore Acres Boulevard Northeast, one of the entrances to the neighborhood. And as you can see here, flood waters just everywhere at the moment. And we know this isn't even the brunt of Helene, but right now it's unsafe to get through these waters. In fact, police are blocking parts of Shore Acres. They say not to come down here. We know this was a concern for a lot of neighbors who live around Shore Acres. They took these several days they had to prepare very seriously, putting sandbags out there, communicating with one another. And just to give you some context, some of these neighbors have already gone through a lot with some of the flooding and storms we've seen throughout the last year. At Dahlia, for instance, we were out here. We saw just how much water got into their homes. And leading up to the storm, I can tell you a lot of neighbors were feeling nervous. This storm could be much worse than they've seen here in Adalia, and this is exactly why. Neighbors are asking people here not to come down here, not to drive down these roads, because when you do so, you're actually pushing the water into these homes. And we know that this water level, it's expected to get higher out here, and neighbors just want to make sure they can keep their homes secure. A lot of times people ask, why continue to stay in these neighborhoods? Where the ones I've talked to so far, they say that these neighborhoods, they're special to them. They look after each other, and they just want to make sure they can stay safe as much as they can. I talked to the neighborhood association president a few days ago. He was concerned that much of these neighbors were perhaps not taking these evacuations and preparations seriously. That attitude has seemed to change. We met with some neighbors who've actually evacuated, gone to hotels closer inland, and this is why they're concerned about this, and this is now the reality, and they're just concerned that water is just continuing to go up. These conditions have gotten much stronger. We're feeling some of that rain, that wind, really pushing this water here. And as our meteorologists keep mentioning, the story of Helene here is really about the storm surge. And we know this is expected to get worse. So the neighborhood association president and those who've lived around here for years are just hoping that neighbors are taking this seriously and, of course, staying away from these flood waters, because this, driving through this and going through this, one, it's unsafe, and one, it can make those conditions worse for those neighbors who've lived here for years. Courtney and Dave.
All right, Miguel, and we know that we've talked about the flood mitigation efforts that the city has taken in Shore Acres. They have those in place, but I mean, at this point, are they really helping?
Right now, it's too hard to tell, but we know that earlier this afternoon, we were told that if you lived in those evacuation zones A, low-lying coastal areas, police were really asking people to evacuate, go somewhere else that's safe, because as first responders keep telling us, in preparation for the storm, there will come a point where it's almost impossible to get to you if you need to evacuate. So some of the concern is from neighbors, including senior citizens, who may be trapped down here, and that's something the neighborhood association president really stressed out here. He really wanted to make sure that while neighbors still had time, that they evacuated, took all those preparations that they could. We know that some of these homes, they have sandbags, they have tarps out here, doing their best to mitigate the damage from the potential storm surge, which we are expecting to see get worse here. But at this point, this is why they tell you to take those preparations while you can, because we are expecting those conditions out here, especially in those low-lying coastal areas, to get much worse.
All right, Miguel, thank you so much. And the Pinellas County Sheriff earlier not mincing any words when he said if you are in an evacuation zone, you need to get out now, that they are not going to put their deputies in danger when it comes to having to make rescues in the overnight hours. And I mean, it seems that people who have been through this and have had to, move all their stuff, redo their homes and do all these things over and over in just the past year, they're gone. They've put those things up. But I think some of the other areas where we maybe haven't experienced that, I really hope people are ready.
Well, we certainly hope so. And obviously, if you have to move and can do so safely, now's the time to move, because that window is closing. I want to take a look at the Howard Franklin Bridge right now. One of the major arteries right here that limits people's ability to get out of Pinellas County right here. And it is closed. The Howard Franklin Bridge is closed. The way it works here is police shut it down when they determine conditions are unsafe, versus the Sunshine Skyway Bridge, which is also closed at this hour. Generally, when sustained winds are at 45 miles an hour, the Sunshine Skyway Bridge closes. So we've got two major arteries, one that heads east and one that heads south, closed right now. So if you need to get out of Pinellas County and can do so safely, the window is closing for you, but just be very, very careful at this point, because you can't go across the Howard Franklin, you can't go the Sunshine Skyway right now.
And there are shelters that are open in Pinellas County that you can get to.
That's correct.
So, you know, again, you got to make that call, and as Dave just said, that window is closing. We want to go a little farther south. Chris Hurst is live for us in Nokomis. Chris, another area where we see these high waters, and you've been down there all throughout the day, kind of traveling around. What are you seeing right now?
Well, Courtney and Dave, we're still in Nokomis Park. We're in the parking lot, and right now the conditions really are getting very treacherous. The wind has picked up significantly just in the last half hour, with sustained winds now approaching 50 miles an hour, gusts over 60 miles an hour, and now the rain finally has arrived, and we're going to be continuing to get these bands of rain with associated lightning and even a tornado warning in Sarasota County right now. Helene is here in Sarasota County, definitely moving her way up north into Manatee and those barrier islands, Anna Maria Island, Longboat Key. If you look back here, this is Nokomis Park, and where a jetty normally is that allows for there to be some boat traffic, the water from the Gulf now going over into the parking lot and really washing away a lot of the parking lot that is here in Nokomis Park. There still are a few stragglers who are out here. We're thrill seekers. We're trying to see the hurricane up close on the shore for themselves. They're now all starting to leave. We will do so here after we finish up with you because it will be the safer thing to do. There are 12 shelters open in Sarasota County. It is not too late to still go to a shelter. The storm surge predictions still are there for what could be widespread coastal and possibly further inland flooding. We're going to go leave here and check out the intercoastal waterway and the bridge that is here in Nokomis as you get in towards Venice, because that is also a very good barometer to watch where the storm surge actually is at this point. We know that it is over the seawall there at the intercoastal waterway here in Nokomis and Sarasota County, and we will go over there just to see how quickly these waters continue to rise. Back to you, Dave and Courtney.
Yeah, Chris, a quick question before you go here. Bobby had talked about how quickly the weather situation will change. We're going to interrupt here. We have a tornado warning we need to talk about, and this is something that often happens during these systems coming in, the ability to spawn a tornado. Let's check in with Bobby right now. Bobby, what do you have for us?
Yeah, we've got a tornado warning. This is in southern Sarasota County right now. Can we clear this out? There we go. There it is right there. You can see it's down towards Boca Grande, but what's happening is it's getting into the southern part of the county. So let's zoom in there and let's use the radar. We're going to do, actually here, let me jump over here. We're going to use actually use the NextRad radar so we can see and do the palettes here. You can see where the center is right there. It's right along the immediate coast. So what this is a water spout that has moved on shore, and it's basically now showing a little bit of rotation right at the very south end of all of this. This is, wrong button right here, let me get a little bit lower here. This is it right there in the Inglewood area. So if you're, I know we got viewers down in Venice and there's some in Vamo as well. If you're in that Inglewood area, that's it right there, okay? That's the tornado warning. Guys, what is the speed on that? It's in effect until 5:15 right now. But it will be also moving to the north and the west, and so all these areas that are like 275 or 75 I should say, and moving northward.
75 miles per hour it's moving.
75 miles, that's the forward movement. That's amazing.
And it's located 10 miles west of Northport.
Yeah, 10 miles west of Northport, right? You can see that there, but it's going to be crossing I-75. This is it right here. All right. This is the area right here that we're talking about. This is I-75 right in here, where it turns right towards Venice. All right, so if you're in the Venice area, you need to be watching out for that right now, okay? So what happens with these types of things, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen one moving 75 miles per hour, but they tend not to last very long. The ones that we have seen today have been going in about 15, maybe to 20 minutes or so, but it's down here in the southern part. Nope, I think it's a little bit further to the south, or is that it? Is that where we're talking right here? I can't see. If we get back to the velocity.
Yeah, we can get over to velocity.
Yep.
Right there.
Yep, okay.
Right there.
Well, there it is right there. So that's going to be crossing 75 right now. Now it'll get east of there in minutes. You know, it's not going to take long at all. Once it gets to crosses this, it's going to get to the east Here, guys, I'm going to have to drive this. I want to zoom out and show where we are on this because the population actually drops just a little bit right there. So if you're in this area right in here along I-75, Laurel and Venice, on the west side of I-75, be in the shelter, of course, but if you're on the east side and there's just not as much population out there, you need to be in your shelter. So this is up towards the Shinytown area. All right, that is where we expect this to go. It's basically going to be moving something just like this. Okay, it's crossing 75 right now. Guys in the booth, I doubt we have a FHP cam.
A minute ago when you saw that wind and that rain, he was talking about the outer band.
He was in
near Nokomis.
Yep, it's just to the east of him.
Okay.
Right, and he's not. There's no way he's going to see this, but it is going to be kind of close.
The rotation is further down south near Edgewood, right there, south and north.
Yeah, yeah.
Right there.
That's it right there. Yeah.
So we have a tornado
but there's
warning.
two, and I think this one has to be watched too. That's the one crossing 75. This is the one for the actual warning for Inglewood. And then it's basically going to cross 41. So Tarpon Point, Warm Mineral Springs, North River Road, this is all in the Venice area. If you live out at the beach or close to the beach, because if you do live at the beach, you're not there right now, you are okay. This is going to be back out over 41 and South River Road, right? North River, South River, right there. It's moving almost due northwest there and headed towards 75. When these things pop, we tend to get a couple, and I'm interested in this one in Venice, that one on 75, and then this is the bigger one. You can see that's a little bit bigger. That is the one that we have the actual warning for right now. So popping up here right now, the bigger picture, there are a couple cells up into western Manatee. These have not looked too important, but I will say that there was one that's actually right here, and that is just moving out into the bay. This is the Skyway Bridge right here. If you're in South St. Pete over here, keep an eye on that because we could get a water spout to form here. And then if you get further to the south in the Lakewood Ranch area, nothing impressive here. Let me back this up just a little bit. You can see that it looked like there's a little rotation aloft. I'm talking about this right here, right in there. And that's right across the eastern part of Lakewood Ranch. Now that was 444, that was about 4 minutes ago. Now you can see that's crossing 64. So again, no warning for that one, but very suspect area. The big one that we have down here is crossing 41 just east of Woodmere right now, just east of Vamo. And Northport, downtown Northport, I think you're okay with this one. It's very close though as you get over towards Warm Mineral Springs and Tarpon Point. That's where it is. Now, I-75, if you know somebody who's driving down in that direction, they're in that area, give them a text, give them a call, let them know to watch out. I mean, this thing is moving 75 miles per hour. They're driving that fast on the road, right? This thing coming at them from the left. If they're heading northbound on 75, they're not going to see it. It's going to be rain wrapped. It's going to be really tough to see. A lot of these actually skip as well. They tend to kind of go up and down, and it's hard to tell right now if there's anything on the ground. One of the things that we do is we look for debris, and that's what this shows us. So dark red, that's not debris. I'm looking near the word Inglewood, and I don't see anything popping up right now. So that's actually good news. That's really good news that we don't see that. Still have the warning, still have it for this area right here. That's 75. So again, if you live along there, please be in your shelter. What do you do? Yeah, of course, we don't have basements here in Florida, but we do have second stories, and you don't want to be on the second story of your house, okay? You want to be on the lowest floor possible and basically put as many walls between you and the outside world. No mobile home is safe. If you live in a mobile home park in that area along I-75, you need to get to your shelter. A lot of parks may have like a main community building, a cinder block building. That should be your go-to place. You should get there now if you have time. You do not want to be upstairs, and of course, you do not want to be outside at this time. Now, for folks, if you did call them and let them know that, hey, it's in that area, they don't want to be in a car. We don't want people getting underneath overpasses as well. It's hard to believe, but you're actually higher in the atmosphere. It's not much, but you're about 15, 20 feet off the ground when you get into right up underneath an overpass, and that has higher winds with it. All right, so there's our warning area. Again, it's in effect until 5:15. Usually they issue these for about 30 minutes, but they'll probably let it wrap up if they see it move. But I mean, Colleen's standing here with me, and I don't see anything changing. And more than anything else, I see a couple different areas.
That couplet right over 41.
Yeah.
Do you guys have me with my mic?
Yep,
okay,
they can hear you.
perfect.
So yeah, this 41 area is just about all clear. Inglewood, you're all clear. All right. Venice, you're still in the clear. Shinytown, you're not. It's crossing 75 right now. There's actually something in the Shinytown area that's interesting, but the warning for this one, you can see it's just a bigger structure, is right there in that Northport area. Now, the population does go down a little bit here when you get on that north side. It's a lot of farmland right there. So that is good news. But if you live between 75 and 72, you're definitely going to be looking at that rotation coming through. Now, again, this is not like what you see on the Weather Channel, National Geographic, when people chasing tornadoes out there. This is going to be really tough to see. Moving 75 miles per hour, so it's going to be coming and going very fast. It's right in here, all right? It's right there, drifting off towards the north-northwest. So Shinytown, that little area right there I was watching, but the warning is for this one, and if it holds together, it's going to be in your neck of the woods in less than 3 minutes. Okay, 75 miles per hour, that's really fast. Now, a lot of the population is back out here, along and west of I-75. You're in the clear as far as this one goes. Colin, if we can zoom out just a little bit on this one, I want to look at some of the other cells, because this is the time where we're getting the leading edge of this band of rain coming in. And we were showing it you earlier offshore. You could see the higher reflectivities, and that was our thought that we're going to start getting tornado warnings. There's the tornado warning, but you see these little couplets here. There was one that went over Pinellas. That looks okay now, but then there's another one right in here. So definitely some stuff to keep an eye on. What happens is we get the radar, they're sending around. We have Doppler radar now, and what that is the blues are coming towards the radar. So you know how you look down the track of a train, you hear the train coming, it's really low, and then it gets closer, it gets louder and louder, right? You can see that on a wave in a computer, and that's what happens. The radar is sending out a signal. It hits a bunch of raindrops right here and says, yeah, there's a bunch of rain right here, but oh, by the way, those areas in the blue, those drops are coming towards the radar really quickly. And oh, by the way, there's drops right here in the green that are going away from the radar very quickly. That means we've got rotation, okay? That's how we use what's called Doppler radar. It's the Doppler principle that is able to measure that movement with the raindrops. So it's called Doppler radar, and that shows us the rotation. Now, we scan this around, and then we basically wait and see if the couplet gets a little less looking like it's a tornado. If you can hit the CC button there, CC is what's called the correlation coefficient. It does a couple different things, but when you're tracking tornadoes, especially in a situation where you're not going to get a lot of hail like today, it's just very warm all the way up, it's looking at the radar. The newer radar actually goes up and down, but it also goes left and right. So if it hits a round raindrop, it knows the distance from top to bottom, and it knows the distance from left to right. Those should be about the same if it's a circle. If it's a stick, that's not going to be the same. If it's a piece of wood, it's not going to be the same. So these red areas, dark red, almost purple, those are round raindrops, right? When we start seeing colors like this orange in here, that potentially could be debris. So we know we had the tornado handed right here. It's 75. You've got Shinytown. I don't think that's debris. Could be, but this is a little ahead of it. And we've kind of been tracking this. This is kind of the edge of the cell itself. You know what, if you can back up just a couple of frames there, drag that little thing to the left, we'll be able to follow that. Yeah, so you can see that kind of stayed with it the whole time. That's more interesting right in there, but not seeing a whole lot right now. So we'll see. We do not have any reports at this point of it actually touching the ground, which I know is crazy. But again, this is one of those situations where they can skip and not be on the ground for a minute, then be on the ground, then lift up, and then do that type of thing. And again, it's moving over 70 miles per hour. So if you go back up to the latest one, that is a good little hook echo that we see it right there. You see that right there? That's where the inflow right there. That's where the tornado is. This is Shinytown, obviously, and it's going to move just to the northwest, very, very slowly. So eventually, Lakewood Ranch, you're in the clear right now. The warning is just about to Shinytown. Technically, parts of the town are not even in the warning, but you should be in your safe space now. If we could pan down just a little bit, if you live south of 75 in Northport, Inglewood, Venice, Vamos, Woodmere, clear. You're good. You can come out. One good thing to do when you do have a tornado warning and you're watching us is to get into your safe spot, turn the TV up before you do that so that you can hear us. Because what I'll do is tell you, Here's your city. You're in the clear. You can come out now, that type of thing. See how this is actually a shorter box than what you would see, especially moving 75 miles per hour. And that's because they anticipate this not lasting the whole 30 minutes for the warning. But the structure of this, that looks like a pretty decent thunderstorm that's capable of producing a tornado. Offshore, we've got some rain, but the reflectivities aren't as high, so I'm not concerned about that. But then if you look further to the south here, off of Inglewood, those higher reflectivities could produce tornadoes. It's real easy to produce a water spout versus producing a tornado around here. It's just kind of the way it works, right? But when you do produce a water spout and it moves on shore, it's considered a tornado, and we get tornado warnings. This thing is well inland, and it still has that structure and it still has the rotation. All right, let's zoom back in there and let's look at the velocity again, see if we got a new scan to see how that couplet works. Couplet is basically the two pieces beside each other that are rotating. And yeah, you can see it. See the blue and the green right here? Still there. So Highway 72, you live along there. Let's zoom in a little bit more, Colleen. I don't think, there's not a whole lot out there. Honorary, yeah. Myakka State Park, that's why. Yeah, that's in the state park area. When you hear a lot of times when we're talking about the floods, the Myakka River, southern part of it, that's what we're talking about right there. So this is going to move out over that state park area after it crosses over 72. Now, let's go a little bit further to the north and the west. So let's get up. It's not quite all the way to Lakewood Ranch, but it's getting close, okay? It's here. It's going to be in this area here, and then see if it can hold together in here, because that's the key for you in Lakewood Ranch. And by what time we got here, we'll definitely, yeah, it'll be there in about 5 to 8 minutes or so towards Lakewood Ranch. It's moving
Bobby,
quick.
It looks like they're expanding that
They just
box.
did it. Yeah. Yep. Let's zoom out just a little bit. They just extended it because that is small for a fast-moving tornado. So now it does include Lakewood Ranch. It's almost to Duet at this time, but not quite that far to the north. So there, here it is, right down here. See, I mean, this looks interesting to me too.
Hey, Bobby, when you talk about extending the box, is that just extending the area where we're kind of...
The warning.
The warning.
It's extending the warning. Now, Colleen, is this, let's just go hit the velocity product so I can look at that. Sometimes they just take it from the same tornado because they had it going from here to here and it's already here, so they just extend it further to the north, right?
Got it.
But there can be times where you have another rotation pop up, and that's what we were kind of looking at. This one appears that that's the rotation right there. This area near Fordville, that's what I keep looking at, but I think that's okay. But that's the main, okay, yep, I think that's okay. It's just look interesting. It's just kind of on the fringe here, and that's why the color's that way. But this one right here is the main one, and that's the one that's going to continue to push off towards the north and the west, north-northwest, about 75 miles per hour. South of there, Shinytown, just about in the clear. I think it's already past you. It's moving so fast, it's likely over 72 right now. So Shinytown, you are in the clear. Folks south of 72, essentially in the clear at this point. Sandy, you're not going to have to deal with this. That's fine. It's not even raining out there. Ottery, you need to be in your safe spot. It's going to be very, very close as this comes by. We don't have, trying to see if there's a debris signal. Can't really tell. That looks a little interesting in here. I would expect to see this just with the back of the rain. So that's kind of tough. This is our radar here actually seeing the rotation. We know now it's right up here, but the algorithms in the actual radar software can see all of that and give us a heads up. So let's zoom out just a little bit, please, Colleen, and let's go look up towards the north end of Sarasota County here in Lakewood Ranch. So let's go back to the velocity. That's fine, velocity there. Okay, so these are, see what I'm saying? That's okay though. I think, yeah, we just got another scan. That looks a lot better. All right, so now let's pan down just a little bit so I can see 72. Okay, this is getting much broader. This is getting much broader here. And what I mean by that is it's not as tight next to each other. And that's an indication that we're now seeing this actually spread out a little bit. And what's probably happened is the storm's starting to fall apart just a little bit, and this should spread out. So Sarasota, Manatee counties, tornado warning. It looks like it goes up into, not quite all the way up to Hillsborough County. I don't expect that. I was going to say almost up to Duet, but it's kind of right on the borderline of where Duet is. And Duet, I always think about Duet. I mean, we had a tornado years ago. It rolled a mobile home, unfortunately killed somebody in the home, and then a family member was so upset they died. So that's what can happen in tornadoes. I know people get upset when we break into coverage, you know, your favorite show, and we're doing it for this one little area, but that's the difference we're hoping to make, that some people can stay safe. So 72, this is it. That's the cell right there. Moving to the north, so Lakewood Ranch, this is 75 in Lakewood Ranch, right? So on the eastern side of the neighborhood and closer to 70. If you live right just south of 70 in Lakewood Ranch, that's where we're going to be watching. You should be in your safe spot right now. This does go all the way up to just about Parrish and Duet, but it looks like the biggest threat is going to be east of 75 for this particular one. Heavy rain coming in now for the beaches, including Sarasota, downtown Sarasota. In fact, do we have the camera from Van Wezel, if we can pull that up real fast, because I want to see what those winds look like. That's different than what these winds are, right? Oh, no, it's not going to work there. I was sorry.
Oh.
Sorry, Colleen. Typically that would work for us, but not here at our backup facility. There it is still.
Yeah.
We just got another one.
It looks like that couplet's trying to tighten up again.
Yeah, it is. Hidden River, Fruitville Road, east of Tatum. You need to be in your safe spot. That's Myakka Road, Verna Road areas as well. This is all right there west of Myakka City. Myakka City, you'll be fine with this one. Same thing, obviously, with Sandy. In downtown Sarasota, I think you'll be fine, too. This is going to stay out on the eastern side of all of the county here. But, yeah, that's it. Have we have any reports? Anybody got to look at the chat?
No reports yet. We have gotten some from the National Weather Service saying that they're watching some other cells moving on shore near Charlotte and Lee, but not seeing enough for any of those warnings.
Okay, all right, good. And so what we look for there is any reports. A lot of times we're looking at reports from the law enforcement, right? Because they're going to get 911 calls, they're going to find out of the damage, and then that helps us confirm if this has touched the ground yet. It doesn't really matter really in these cases because they can skip. They can be off the ground and not do any damage, which is what we would love, and we're just looking at rotation just off the ground. The radar can't see the ground, right? If it did, it'd see the tree right next to the radar, and then that would be it. We wouldn't see anything. So it goes out at about a ½ angle. And so the further you get from the radar, which is in Ruskin, the higher it is in the atmosphere. So we are looking at the cloud deck up there, but we can see it rotated, and that's what it is. The velocity or the reflectivity here doesn't look like it has much of a hook, but let's go to velocity. Let's try that one, Colleen, and then let's go ahead. You see that does look a little bit better, and then that's the relative velocity, yeah. Let's zoom in just a little bit on the Hidden River area. So certainly in your safe spot in Hidden River. Yeah, try that again. This might actually be weakening. Let's go over to the other velocity product.
Bobby, you have one more damage report if you'd like.
Oh, do you? Yeah, okay, we got a damage report, yeah.
Yeah.
Michaela's.
Pasco County. Here's this one. We got some down trees, some of these larger trees.
Yeah, okay, down trees in Pinellas. We're in Pinellas. This is not associated with the tornado. All right, guys, so no, this is just associated with the winds that are coming through. If you see any kind of damage reports coming from this area here in Sarasota County, let me know. This actually looks like it's starting to weaken just a little bit. Now let's try reflectivity one more time, Colleen. Yeah, looks a little better. Looks a little bit better. That's kind of a tough one. If you can hit just the next rad.
Hey, Bobby, real quick, the Courtney Campbell Causeway is closed, just to let people know. So we've got Howard Franklin, Courtney Campbell, and Skyway now closed.
All three bridges shut down at this point. What time we got here? It's
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, just after 5. Okay, cool. Expect that, and as you heard Courtney say earlier, they don't reopen them. They don't sit there and babysit them to reopen them at this point. They're going to shut them down until they notice that conditions start getting better. That's probably not going to be till at least midnight, and more likely 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. And I've seen them doing a lot longer, and that's just those main bridges. The Skyway could be a little bit longer than that. All right, it's tornado warning still right here. Do we have the warning? Yeah, we'd probably do this just the next rad layer.
Yeah.
What was the timing on that one? They went ahead and just went to 5:15, so another 10 minutes of this.
Yeah.
Let's take you live out to Lakewood Ranch right now. We have a weather camera out there, and that's going to be looking at, usually I think it looks off towards the east right there. Yes, east-northeast. And so, yeah, not a lot of rain right there right now. You might be able to see some of this coming, but certainly the wind's picking up, of course. You can see that's a lake right there. That's not anything kind of surge-wise or anything like that. But Lakewood Ranch, the further east you live in the neighborhood, the more you need to be in your shelter. If you're on I-75, you just less than half a mile, quarter of a mile off of I-75, you should be safe. it's going to be a little bit deeper inland. So here's 75 right here. Right, there's where our tornado is. It might even skip Lakewood Ranch altogether. It looks like it's going to be a little bit to the east of that. Verna, Oak Knoll should be in your safe spot. Let's go ahead and hit the polygon here. We'll show the polygon going up to Oak Knoll. It doesn't have Myakka Head in it, and that will not be an issue. It's going to go to your west. But did they expire it? It doesn't look like our system hasn't got it yet, but maybe. A lot of times what they'll do, Michaela, is they'll say they will allow it to expire, and then they just kind of keep it going. So 5:06, they'll get it going here. Another 9 minutes. All right.
Velocity looks better, yeah.
Yeah, that's looking better. All right, cool. So let's zoom in tight on that one. That's State Road 70 right now. If you live along State Road 70, especially south of Waterbury, this is that area of Verna. That looks a lot better. That looks a lot better. Okay. Hey, look, so still have the warning in place. Let's treat this like it's still there. There's still a notch. You see that? That's a little notch right there. That's interesting.
You know what? And I was looking down by Englewood, and I thought that this looked a little squirrely out along the coastline. So, okay, so we just got that new tornado warning. This is for Charlotte, DeSoto, Lee, and Sarasota. And it's really just running over the same area, eventually where we have this initial tornado warning that's still in effect for the next 5 minutes or so. But this one goes until 5:30.
So let's get in on that, because if you're in the Port Charlotte area, that's where it's going to go west of 75 at that point. There it is. That's the rotation way down here. So it's just coming out. That's a water spout. It's going to go behind Boca Grande.
South of Rotunda too, Bobby.
Say that?
South of Rotunda.
South of Rotunda, yeah.
That looks interesting.
Yep, right there is what she's talking about. So let's hit the next rad button. And let's zoom out real fast. So that cell there, this cell here, Englewood doesn't have it yet, right? But you get the idea how these all start to pop, especially when they get closer to land. That's what's happening. Now zoom out even further, please, and you're going to notice we have less of those bright red reflectivities out over here. We have some, of course, but these outer bands are the ones that tend to give us the trouble with the tornadoes. And this goes all the way up even into Hillsborough County right now. So we're going to be watching those very closely. Let's get back up to our northernmost warning there, up towards, it's going to be north of Northport now. There you go. Lakewood Ranch area. I want to get a look at this velocity. And we'll do both of those velocities. We'll do the regular and we'll do the relative. So much better here near Verna. Let's give the all clear to Hidden River, not Verna just yet, but I think you're okay. But give it another 2 to 3 minutes in Verna. And now let's go a little bit north if we can, Colleen. There was a couple little cells up there that looked interesting. That's good. Everything looks good up there so far. All right, we like that one. Okay, so zoom in there to the Verna one. We'll keep you updated on that. That's the one that goes through 5:15, another 6 minutes on that one. That looks much better. We're not seeing big rotation out of this, so it looks like it did fall apart. Okay, now we can jump down and go into the Northport area, west-southwest of Northport. Again, this cell is actually behind Boca Grande right now, so it's way down there. And it will be moving off to the north at about the same speed. There you go, all the way down, all the way down. There we go. All right, so this is the one that we're talking about right here. The reason why I say that's because we do have some viewers out here in Englewood, and you get over towards Northport, which is just off the map right here. That's going to be moving very, very quickly. So keep a very close eye on it.
Yeah, that's.
I think the rotation's right
out
there.
by north of Rotunda, that keeps trying to tighten up there.
Well, we've got this one and we have this one.
Yeah, and over by Boquia.
So we'll have to watch those. They haven't issued anything on that, but the one that's down here is kind of covered up by the super here. That is the cell that we have the warning for. So again, typically, yeah, there you go. You can see the green water, big water spout out there is what that looks like to be right now. Now, water spouts, typically when they move on shore, they tend to fall apart very quickly. These are different. This is not, water spouts in the summertime when you have very light winds, a really light west to southwest or southwest wind. You can get that, and the water spout will fall apart pretty quickly right as it drifts on shore. These are what are called tornadic water spouts, and that's more of the structure of the thunderstorm over top of them. Water spouts in the summertime, the real thin ones, it's just a small cloud up above. It's not typically a big deal, but these type have more rotation going up through the core of that thunderstorm. Ironically, it's a hurricane, it's a big storm. Generally, the cloud tops of hurricanes are about 30,000 feet, and you can get some taller storms in there like this. But on average, in the summertime around here, there are 40, 45,000 foot tall thunderstorms at least that we see. And then a hurricane comes and only goes up to about 30,000. It's different structure. But embedded in there can be ones like this that give us that tornado. So let's go a little bit further to the north. This one's still out over water. It's going to be moving up across east of Rotunda. Those two right there is what Colleen was pointing out. And this is going to get in the South Venice area. Let's hit the pole. I want to see if they have a warning for this, because you can see the rotation right there. There is a warning, but that's not for that one. But it's these cells here, this one right here and that one right there. All right, so I know it looks like that, but that red is to cover for the whole polygons down to the south. All right, bigger picture, and in fact, let's go out a little bit more, show Manatee and Sarasota County, and then we'll put in the velocity so we can kind of examine all of these. You'll see them stick out pretty quickly here. Yep, that's the main one right there, still over water. There's the one in, can we zoom back out a little bit? I want to.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's right. I want to kind of look at all of it. There we go. So you can see something right here. Those are the two that are not warned, but they're in the Venice area. They'll stay just east of the beach, right along I-75, as a matter of fact. If you live anywhere in there, near Venice or just north of Venice, Nokomis area as well, although I think Nokomis will be okay, but those areas will basically see these cells move right over top of you. Offshore, not as much. Got a little perturbation right here. I think that's okay. This is going to be going more to the north anyways, won't affect anybody. And then for further areas inland, not much rain at this particular point. In fact, let's go back over the reflectivity. We're seeing a little bit of a break as far as the inland locations are concerned. The steady rain is still offshore. I mean, these are just some of the outer rain bands. Let's zoom out. Let's do a big picture, Colleen, if you can. I want to see, let's go back to radar, and then we'll see the eye. There it is. So there's the eye of the storm. It's just about 140 miles west of Tampa right now. So where we're getting, now we're at past 5 o'clock. And so the stage that we're at now is for the winds to start to turn onshore and pick up even more. And that's exactly what we're seeing. As soon as this thing gets to the north of us, we see the winds start to come back in from the south and the west. Now the other part of this, and this is what happened with Debbie too. Let's zoom out just a little bit more, please, Colleen. I want to show you that. We talk about the northeast quadrant. So if you take the eye here and you draw a line from the center straight up and then straight out to the east, this quadrant right here is where we tend to see the most tornadoes, right? So it would be these cells that you're seeing right in here. One right over the skyway right now, this one that's offshore, and these are actually moving away too. But what happened during Debbie was we saw some there. They all tended to be just to the east and a little to the southeast. They were in that southeast quadrant. You can get them, obviously, but it's ironic that we're seeing the same thing happen right here. And I think it's just because, obviously, a little bit of the structure, but just because we tend to have some more of these cells and they're moving so quickly. So the tornado threat will be diminishing as we go through tonight. The watch is still there. Usually the watch starts down here, and then what they'll do is they'll trim it back. So now the watch is from here northward. And then as the center gets further to the north, they'll trim it up and just keep going, right? Because that threat's going to be there. Now, this tornado threat extends into these cells here and all the way up, right now up to Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville is in a tornado watch as well. I think that extends all the way to the north because they have outer rain bands that can be coming in. But we're right near the core here, and so that little band, especially this band right in here, will be our best chance to see any. Over the next hour, it's 5:14 right now. By the time we get towards about, I'd say, 8 o'clock, we'll be much lower chance for seeing tornadoes through the area. So we'll be looking at it. All right, let's go to the polygon again. Sorry, we call it pole in our computer.
Okay. Michaela said they just cut back the
one up north.
The 5:15 one, yeah.
Yep, okay. So Port Charlotte, that's the area that we're concerned about right now. This is going to be very southern parts of Sarasota County. There it is. It just basically has come back on land right here behind Gasparilla, and it will be moving off towards the Port Charlotte area, mainly off just to the west of downtown Port Charlotte. Venice, I think it's going to go right in between there. So this is pretty much the same area of 75 that it crosses. However, there is some population right there. So let's zoom in here. We're kind of on the word port, if you can. Get a little bit closer. I want to see some of those neighborhoods there. And we'll also look at basically the velocity product, because it's going to be to the south, but I want to make sure. Well, yeah, you're going to have to zoom in. There you go.
And they did cut the back end So they are trimming.
They are trimming the watch.
I
Okay.
believe there's a live look near I-75.
Okay, let's go live to I-75 right now. Where is this? Is this east of Venice?
Oh, my.
Well, that's exactly what you would expect to see.
There was a car.
You could kind of see there was a car. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So this is east of Venice. This is the area. Mile marker 192. I can't be exact where it's crossing. But if that's east of Venice on 75, that's pretty much the area that second one's going to be coming through. It's not quite there yet. It's probably be there in about 5 minutes or so, 5-6 minutes. But that would be the area. You can see people driving with their hazards on. Just so tough to see out there. Which, by the way, used to be illegal in Florida. And everybody still did it that moved down from up north. And so I think the state just gave up. Said, all right, just do it. We're not going to give you any tickets. But a lot of times you have the hazards on because it indicates that a car stopped. Right? And so when you're driving, you see those, to get out of the way because you're not expected to be moving, but nowadays we're moving. This area right here, west of Port Charlotte, I think generally that is going to be the threat. I don't think downtown is going to be an issue. Let's get to the velocity here, Colleen, as we see if that couplet looks like. They've extended this to about 530. There it is, much smaller than what it was. All right, and that means that it could be potentially weakening. Now, this was a water spout, started over water, but again, it's not a typical one that just falls apart right away, but this one looks like so the yellow is the tornado watch at this point. I think that's what that is. And so you can see they've cut it off right down here. They do include down towards the Port Charlotte area, but it goes all the way up to the north, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to US 41. This is in the South Venice area. Yep, that's tornado watch. South Venice area, US 41. That's a little bit closer to the coast there. Which way are we looking here? That's a little tough to see. But look, hey, little break in the rain there, right? Definitely looking to the southeast there. You can see the clouds moving in that direction from right to left. Look at the tops of the trees too. The winds are really starting to pick up. This area will actually see less wind than what we're seeing up in the Tampa Bay area. All right, and you can see the trees are moving really well down there. We've seen gusts in the 30s and 40s easily down there already, but we're now getting to the point where we're going to see some of the highest winds now. It's going to start really to turn on shore, and it will pick up. Our gusts will go up, our steady winds will go up even down here on US 41 in southern Sarasota County.
Hey, Bobby, I want to share this just real quick. City of Madeira Beach says now is the time. Last chance to get out. They're expecting the barrier islands, beaches closed by 6 p.m. cutoff with flooding and stuff.
Okay, so they're going to put a cutoff time on that. So that was Treasure Island?
No, Madeira Beach
Madeira
around
Beach?
6 p.m. The city of Madeira Beach saying that. Now's the last chance. Get out.
So anyways, what 6 o'clock is when they're saying that, and that's that wind coming on shore, okay? That's storm surge. That's not this. That's storm surge coming up, and they can't have people that are helping people out sitting out there waiting. So here we go. This is the warned area. You see it goes up just to Northport to 75 right there. We just showed you 41 looking southeast. That was right in this area here.
Oops,
in fact,
sorry.
It's kind of right there where
just
we
got
don't
off
have
that
much in the
by
way of rain. But if you looked off in the distance, you could see the low clouds, and you're not going to see the tornado in there. Yeah, good move. Thank you for moving that up that way. You can see those some heavy cells moving through parts of Hillsborough. Might as well go ahead and click one of the velocities on that, Colleen. We'll see what those look like. And we'd be looking in this area right in here, right in there. And that looks okay. A little couple somethings right here, but I don't see anything that would warrant any type of tornado warning or anything like that point. And that actually will be moving offshore. Looks a little interesting right there near Starkey Ranch, but I think it's okay. So the only warning that we have is down here, just about to I-75 right there. That's the top end of it, right there. And you can see the coastal areas basically seeing plenty of rain, but again, not a lot of rotation there. That's the good news. Just this one little cell that you're seeing right there. So Port Charlotte, if you're watching from there, you need to be in your safe spot, all right? Especially on the west side of town, especially the closer you are to 75. Well, it doesn't really matter at that point, but that's where it's headed. Inglewood, you're okay. Venice, you're okay. Vamo, you are okay. Just got a scan here. Let's go down in here, Colleen, and let's go do and look at our velocities. I want to see both of those And then
yeah,
also,
it looks like more air is
well, that
being
looks good.
wrapped
This looks
in
like something interesting right here. That's not our warning. Our warning's for this right in here. It looks a lot better. We'll go over that. Is this the relative? You want to go over to the other velocity one that we have?
That was the other. This is
there
relative
we go.
right now.
That looks a little bit different there. And then let's try the CC as well. Let's see if we've got any debris. That's just probably a lot of water right there, but that's tough to tell. Back that up just a couple frames, please. Maybe we can see. We're watching this right here, watching those colors.
A little bit.
Yeah,
Latest
it's a little
scan
bit.
there.
That could be something. And so again, what that's indicating, if that's actual debris, which you tend to see it on the backside not looking like that. So that would be something that it picked up. And it doesn't mean houses or anything necessarily, but it means like tree debris, branches, leaves, that type of thing. Things that get picked up off the ground as the tornado goes by. So Port Charlotte and Northport in your safe spot. Tornado warning for just a couple more minutes here, about 9 more minutes or so. South of there, down toward Tropical Gulf Acres, you get further down towards Marco, those areas are just fine. Inglewood, again, the coastal areas are fine. Lakewood Ranch, we had that earlier going just by, but it looked like mainly just to the east of the neighborhood. Let's go back up there because there was a little interesting rotation there into Manatee County and Sarasota up towards Hidden River, Lakewood Ranch there. And let's go ahead and do the velocity. Those cells right there, looking okay. You can see there were some stronger cells, and I don't see a lot of rotation with those. So
That's relative.
Relative velocity and the regular one. Okay, all right, that's good. And the Bay Area looks good as well. Tampa, Pinellas, Hillsborough, Pasco with this little wave coming through. Those look okay. So that's good news. There's obviously the radar. Cone of silence is what that's called. Not that your dog's not necessarily silent when you put that cone on him, but this, what it is the radar is looking up. It's looking out, but it's not looking straight up, right? So as that thing sweeps around, it doesn't look straight up, and so you end up with a little hole right here. But that is the radar. And in fact, you can see from this picture here, the flow. You can actually tell which way the wind is blowing. See that line from here to here? The wind's basically blowing perpendicular to that, right? The green is coming towards the radar, the red's going away from the radar. And that's going to switch. This line's going to look like this. It's going to be red up here, and it's going to be green down here. And when we see that, we know that the water levels are coming up for the surge, right? That's the surface wind blowing out of the south and the west, and that's what's happening between now and, let's say, 7:30, 8 o'clock, all right? And the water's going to come up. So back to regular reflectivity. We'll hit the next rad button and show you that there's some pretty good little cells here. But again, this is just a heavy downpour. Obviously, we're talking tornadoes, but what I should mention is that when these come over top of you, you're going to notice a lot more wind. And so don't be scared in thinking it's a tornado, but you certainly will watch the winds go up, gusting when that comes over you. But then after that, it'll just go back to more of a lighter rain, and that wind will actually come down. It'll be more of a steady wind once that main cell goes by, all of those cells, and they're training over the same area. So places like Carrollwood and Brandon, and back out towards Fishhawk, Camp Osprey out there, and Waimama area, just east of Sun City Center. That's where the heavier rain is. Sun City Center is looking pretty good right now. Parish, some heavy rain. Skyway's closed. People aren't going over that. Gandy, closed. Howard Franklin, closed. Courtney Campbell, closed. That's why they do evacuations in Pinellas County in advance, because the only way to get out of Pinellas County now is up McMullins, up US 19, and is up old US 19, right? And you got to come up and go around. Eventually, Hillsborough Avenue, I think, will end up being closed at least east of Racetrack, near the Countryway area, probably between east Racetrack
Bobby,
and Countryway.
I think that the Gandy is open.
Is the Gandy open? Oh, okay.
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Oh, good to know. All right. So heavy rain moving off towards the east now of Hillsborough County. Let's get back down to our warnings. Do we still have the warning? They got another 5 minutes left. They had that going up until
5 more minutes left.
about 5:30.
Hail reported.
Okay, where was the hail reported?
We've had small hail near US 301 and Boyett Road.
Boyett Road. Okay, yeah.
Is that within this system?
Yeah, no, that would be. There's a possibility of hail in this just because it's taller, but that would eventually work its way to the north. Look at that. So let's go to the reflectivity or velocity and see if that's part of that rotation. Yeah, there it is right there. Yeah, that looks healthy. So Western Port Charlotte and 41. Northport, you're right up next. Northport, you do need to be in your safe spot. Morgantown's fine. Venice is fine again. It's areas to the south. we don't have cable service, I think, for Channel 10 all the way down there. We actually have a lot of viewers in Northport, believe it or not. But a lot of people have the app now, and they watch us from all over the place. So if you're down there towards the Sanibel area, I know you're not on the island, hopefully, not in this case, although the surge is not as bad there. But those areas are safe. Rotunda is safe now. We had water spout near Rotunda earlier, but I think that fell apart. Did they extend it? Yeah. They just extended
Bobby, I was going to say, it's, with these radar scans, as they continue to update, I think it's so interesting to, show viewers how the winds are coming in from the southeast. And we see that drier air basically just being eaten in the storm. But then all of those brighter colors, those heavy bands of rain on the top end of the storm, I mean, it has great structure and it keeps trying to spin up on us. There we go.
There we go.
They extended it.
That's it right there.
Oh,
that blue and that green
let's get,
right
okay.
there. So let's get in.
So
let's do.
Yeah.
They've extended it up just a little bit. Let's do the velocity right here. Leave it right here and let's do velocity. Because this is the interesting ones right in here. That's the main cell right there. All right, same spot. This is exactly what happened during Debbie. The same exact spot saw tornadoes. We had 21 tornadoes with 44 tornado warnings. So right now we've had 3 or 4 since we've been covering this little outbreak right here. Those are the warnings. You can get more warnings for one tornado because it just keeps going. They just keep extending and get another warning to the further north. But it was this area. It was a little bit north of this, but it was this same area in Manatee and Sarasota counties. What a year it has been here. The rainfall is adding up. If you get the precip there, I wanted to say that because this area is the area that had all the really bad flooding from Debbie.
Let me switch the time on this because I think it's
We've slowed to 60 miles per hour.
Did it? Okay, now it's moving to the north at 60 miles per hour. So we can almost put a track on that. The heaviest rain's been along this I-75 corridor. We have more rain to go, but not a whole lot more to go, at least not part of the core. But we could get, we're going to get some straggler rain bands late tonight and early tomorrow morning. We'll have to see exactly where those end up. They're not going to be very wide, but they're going to over one spot, and they could just be sitting right there and keep on raining over the same spot. Let's go down to our warning now, since it's down to 60 miles per hour, because I think we have, you can get down to the velocity. We'll track that out. I think we can do a 55 mile per hour cone track.
Ooh, look at that.
Yeah, that really popped up. Can you do a track on that? I think we have 55 mile per hour one.
Yeah.
And you can lead it just a little bit. Go up to 75 there.
Is it moving due north or?
Yeah, north-northwest. And you go up to start it right at about 75 right here. There you go, and just go
50?
Go up towards the V in velocity. Go all the way up. Go all the way up. All the way up. Keep go all the way up. Okay, that's fine right there. There's not a whole lot of places in between here and there. That's why we need to do that. So Hidden River Valley around 720. That's a long way from now. We'll see if that's actually going to make it. Is that 55 miles per hour? I don't know. Let's clear that off.
Yeah, all right, Bobby, you need to switch out your mic, it looks like.
All right, well, Bobby is
I'm stepping over right now.
Let's check in with Colleen. Colleen can give us an update.
Okay, so we have a live camera in Northport. I just wanted to point this out. So all right, so this is Northport right now. This is one of the areas that's under that tornado warning. Michaela, what time is that set to expire, that new warning?
The new warning goes until 5:45.
Okay, so 5:45. So we have about 15 minutes of this warning that has been extended into the Northport area. Just look at those gray clouds. Right now, you can see a little bit of those trees moving. Of course, we have those winds that are coming in from the southeast, but yeah, camera really shaking around. But I do want to go back to velocity radar if we can.
Those clouds are moving.
Yeah, those clouds are definitely booking. Yeah.
It's a really good signature there on that Northport one.
Yeah, I want to. Okay, so we have the velocity radar here, and again, we're looking for that blue and the green. Usually we have the red and the green, but just how far away this is from the radar. So right now, Bobby's putting a track on that, so we can get some of the towns here.
That's more like it.
Prairie Point Camp, this is due north. It is moving a little bit to the northwest, and then Oak Grove Camp. As Bobby was saying, this is more of a rural area, but this is going to pass right over I-75. So if you are one of those places that we're highlighting here, you really, and this looks interesting too, you really need to be in your safe place now. So the area that Bobby's circling, this is, it looks like, Bobby, our banner's covering that a little bit, that cell that's right by Northport. But look at this, 1, 2, 3. We have these little spin-ups that are coming from those southeast winds. Those winds that are starting to turn, become more southerly, and later tonight they will start to become more southwesterly. But Bobby's putting a track on this right now, so you can see. Okay, so now we got Myakka City Elementary School and a couple of those other towns we already mentioned, Myakka Head. But again, this is the main cell that we have that rotation. You can see. And it's pretty tight there.
They're definitely going to have to issue for that other one. Sorry, Colleen, didn't mean to interrupt you. I just saw that one there. That is.
And then this one right here. And then we have a tiny one that's not as tight of a couplet. But these two definitely should be on the lookout. Near 72, that's the one that Bobby's zooming into right now. This is going to continue up to the north. Okay.
Honore area.
Yeah, again, Myakka State Park. This is the same exact area that we were highlighting before when we had Debbie and those outer bands and the tornadoes were starting to spin up. So if we could get that polygon up again, I just wanted to show folks. All right, so we have some more towns up here. Yeah, so reflectivity. Looking at reflectivity now. So again, we keep talking about how that drier air, trying to get a little bit of a hook echo form. We're looking for that indentation right there. That's indicating that that air is being sucked in. And all of this you see right here, that's that rain that's extending out from the center of that little spin up, that little couplet. And these are what we look for. We look for that rotation in those outer bands. So that's what we're pointing out, and that's just reflectivity. So basically that radar beam is shooting out and seeing, okay. And then when we look at velocity, we get that spin. So Bobby's gonna circle that right now, and you can see it's very close to I-75. And I believe, is that where our camera was earlier? Close to Northport.
Yeah, it's out on 41.
Yeah, can we bring up that camera again and see how everything's, we saw the clouds that were really moving.
That one by Northport.
Okay.
Yeah,
I believe we did get an update on our bridges, though.
We did. We have the Gandy Bridge is now closed. We're getting word of that. So that means all 4 major bridges. We got the Gandy, Howard Franklin, Sunshine Skyway, Courtney Campbell Causeway, all closed right now. So that really limits your options if you're trying to get out of Pinellas County at this point. So keep that in mind. All 4 major bridges are closed until further notice.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we still have these 2 cells right here that we're keeping our eye on.
So this one is not warned. However, if you're in Honore, Hidden River, and Verna, you should be in your safe spot next 10 to 15 minutes. All right, so let's just call it 15 minutes. Hop on in there, grab the kids. You definitely want to be in there. Turn the TV up really loud. They haven't warned for it yet, but it looks like it could potentially drop down any time now. The one that they have the warning for is sitting right in here. That one's moving off in that direction, and that's going to be moving over towards basically Sandy at about 5:43. Let me move this over here. We're sitting at 5:33 right now and over towards Edgeville. So the one that's warned now, that one is out over that very rural area, so you're not going to see a whole lot there. You can see the polygon. I guess they got a little lucky right there, right? This is the one that we're tracking.
Yeah.
That's what the polygon's for, but here's where we're watching the other one that's right in there. So let's move up further here. This one east of Lakewood Ranch, showing some signs. That's not what we would call a tight couplet, right? That's oh, that looks a lot better. Good news there. Okay. That one doesn't look as impressive. This one's still obviously this is our warning. Let me get that over here. You can see that basically this one is north of 75 now. So Northport, you are in the clear. Port Charlotte in the clear. If you're south or west of 75 in southern Sarasota County, Charlotte,
anyone that's driving up here,
you are in the clear. There's our warning. There's our tornado right there. This is that other one. That one looks not quite as impressive, but it still does look like it could potentially be producing tornado. That looks a little bit better to me there. So,
and Bobby, I think it's worth mentioning anybody that's traveling, which we don't want people traveling anyway right now, but that was that 72 that was right there. I mean, that one cell is heading right, and we had it booking at what, 72 mile per hour. What was the speed on that earlier?
It's down to 60 now. Initially, one earlier was at 75, but this is 60. Fast. And this is interesting right here too. That could be some debris.
Yeah.
That definitely looks like that could be some debris. And now the second one that was up here, we're getting a new scan here.
what you've both been mentioning of turning up the TV and making sure that people can get the information they need. We're also streaming on our app and on YouTube. So if you can't turn up the TV, maybe you don't have this channel, you can also watch live on YouTube as well. So there's many options to make sure that you're getting the most recent data coming into our station and keeping yourself safe.
This one's very interesting too. This is that one south of, let's take that camera if we can, guys. We got I-75 north in that
Bobby,
area.
you want to switch while they have this camera up?
Yeah, we're good. I just want to be able to look at that. In this case, because it's already through there, we'd be looking to see if there are any down trees or anything like that. Yeah. Okay, so that's right around the area we saw debris. It's kind of tough to tell. Well, the good news is, look, I don't see anything laying on the side of the road, right? No, those trees are all, I don't see a lot of damage there. I can't tell if we're turning the other way. Are we looking? It's a little hard to tell which way we're looking there. We're looking north. Are we looking north? Yeah.
That should be looking.
Is that looking?
The north is coming toward us. That's on the north side.
Okay.
Do you see
All
what
right,
I'm
so
saying?
that's looking east then. If northbound lane's coming towards us. So in that area, it's moving west to east, so that's looking off towards the east. It actually looks a little bit brighter out there. So, okay, good. Nothing to see there. Back out over the radar. Let's go back down and check out that one. This is our main one, in effect until 5:45.
Yeah.
Got another 8 minutes of that one. They did cut it back just a little bit. Again, Northport, you can see it extends all the way down to the south, but you're in the safe now. You're good. Sandy, you need to be in your safe spot. Let's go to velocity, because is that?
So if it says northbound.
Yeah, I mean, it's still there. That one south of Hidden River. Hidden River, I would just be on the safe side.
And this is north, right?
These are usually really quick, but they can be powerful. Very powerful tornadoes, and it's amazing. Usually they only last about 5 to 10 minutes before they fall apart. And if you see them lasting longer, like these, that's an indication that there's better structure in the storm, and you could have even stronger storms, stronger tornadoes. We don't know what the speeds of tornadoes are. You'll find out it was an EF0, EF1, EF2. We actually have the National Weather Service. They go out and they do a survey after the fact that day, maybe even the next day, and look at the damage. And from the damage, they can tell how strong it was. So we don't really have an indication. We can see this right rotation. Sometimes we see it's like a really good rotation. It gives an idea that it's a strong one. But again, we're not seeing the actual ground. We're not seeing the tornado touch the ground yet. So this is the main one. Sandy, you need to be in your safe spot. Hidden River, just to the east of you as well. And then up towards Verna. Verna, I would be watching this too, because this is going to cross 70 here in just about 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, probably a little less than that. And then that will stay east of Lakewood Ranch. So Lakewood Ranch, I think you're in the clear as far as this one's concerned. Highway 72, just south of Sandy, that's the big one. Another 7 minutes, I guess, on that warning. Let's go out, let's leave this here, and then let's move all the way up the coast, back out towards the beaches here. I want to kind of go up and see what we're looking at here as far as other rotation. Pretty good here. Let's go up into Pasco County and zoom in just a little on Pasco County. This is Pasco right here. Pasco County. Pasco is, nope, here. That's Hernando. Oh. Let's go to Pasco. There we go. Those little areas right there. Nothing major. I kind of expect that as it's pulling away. So that's good, because we actually do have some very heavy downpours here, right? Definitely. And you can see that in Dixie, up towards Loy, Spring Hill, getting very heavy downpours. But I don't see any kind of couplets right now, any kind of rotation. But the reason why I'm even looking here is because this whole area has those types of cells in it. And in fact, this area here is a more favored area than anything else, because it's more in that northeastern quadrant with the cells that are coming from southeast off to the north and the west. It's spinning and it's changing at the same time. And so what happens, a lot of times you get tornadoes, it's because the wind at the surface is blowing one direction, and then you come up and it's blowing another direction, and you come up and it's blowing another direction. That gets the thunderstorm that's creating all of this rotating. And that is the type of thunderstorm that can produce tornadoes. In the summertime, the big ones out over the plains called mesocyclones. They're big, just rotating thunderstorms. They can really do it. These are a little bit different structure. It's kind of similar. It's just fast moving, and it usually doesn't last as long.
Bobby, that area had circled just off Pasco County off the coast. I mean, that looks like that could be a little water spout that's trying to form.
Yep,
right
and
here.
that'll stay offshore. We won't be concerned about that. Again, it's easier to form those water spouts over the water, but it's easier to form these rotations over top of the water than it is over land. And the theory is it's just less friction, right? And so the wind trying to get pulled into that storm can come pretty easy. Let's go back over to the regular reflectivity. We'll hit next rad on this one and kind of slowly move our way south and east down through Pasco County into northeastern Hillsborough County. We'll just track these showers for you. Not a lot of lightning in these. That's the good news. Excuse me. Moderate rainfall for Pinellas and northwest Hillsborough. The heaviest is out here east of Carrollwood. That's 275 going to 75. 275 and 75 is 75. 275 is kind of right in the middle there. And I-4, that 75 I-4 junction getting some very heavy rainfall. All right, let's go a little further south and east, please. You can see Pinellas, southern Pinellas, just regular rainfall, pretty heavy rainfall right now. Waimama, starting to see some thunderstorms in there. Let's go ahead and hit velocity for this one just to make sure. I don't see anything on the reflectivity to make it look bad. That's fine. That's good. I still do want to keep my eye on this because those winds are shifting right now, and that's going to be our key. You know what? If you could zoom out a little bit, just a little, and go to the west, go to the left there. Yeah, you see this curving? Now, we are looking higher in the atmosphere, and we would expect that to change a little bit. That's what this does. But we're just on the cusp here of seeing those winds turn more to the south and southwest, and that is the key. This already is going to be pushing up enough water. But it's about ready to get started here. Okay, let's go all the way back down, Colleen. We'll go back down to our warning and see what oh, look at that. You can see it from here. You've got that one right there. Our warning is for this, okay? And then you've got this one. Now, there was something right in here. Let's go right down in here, south of Sarasota, because that one, near Vamo, okay, that's okay. Osprey, Vamo area right now.
Bobby, how do you know this is a tornado or something suspicious when you look at it? The average person looks at that and it just looks like a blue blob.
Bunch of blue colors. Yeah, we're looking for that rotation. The radar shows us that rotation. So if we zoom out here, let's just zoom straight out from here, leave it like it is. Okay, right there's perfect. So you see nice blues, light blues. You're just kind of looking for any kind of darker blue, any kind of different color there. And then more importantly, what you're looking for is these two colors side by side, right? That's the radar showing the rotation and speed. And so you can zoom out, you can just look from this view, you can even see something that's right there too. Look at this right here, Port Charlotte. That's probably a water spout trying to get started right there.
Yeah.
Same line of cells, almost the same area for Debbie. Literally almost the exact same area for Debbie for those cells. That's not necessarily anything to have to do with that type of land, that area of the land. It's just the position of the storm. The storm's about 140 miles, I think, west of us, the center is. It's very similar to what we had for Debbie. Debbie was about 150, 155, somewhere in that range. So this is very similar outer rain band, if you will, and that's the case that we had for Debbie. So no warning for that. Let's put our warnings back on. We're in southern Sarasota County right now until 5:45. It looks like they haven't extended, so we got another 2 minutes. It's weakened a little bit, but that's still a cell, so they might extend this. Michaela, I guess if you see that get extended, just yell as por favor. You can see 5:45 now. The movement, the speed at which it's moving is 60 miles per hour. So that's going to continue to go very quickly, and you can see that what she just had it on the reflectivity there. Still have a really good couplet. Still expect that probably to get extended here. Now, let's do a track on that, and we'll do it at 55 miles per hour and just kind of go basically just a little left of parallel of that eastern Manatee County border, right up towards Duet. This is the cell right here. You actually see some lightning on the back side of there. And you can see that whole line. This is the line that extends up through eastern Hillsborough and up into Starkey Ranch here. No, we're right here. I want to see what that one is. No.
Okay.
That's the current one. Okay, that's fine. That's good. Let's do that one.
We do have a new warning.
We do have a new warning. Okay, Pine Level for there, and then Murdoch is the one further south.
Yeah,
okay, so
I was thinking that. Sorry, I mean interrupt. I was thinking that they would extend that further south because that one cell that's south of Port Charlotte.
So let's go over to the velocity product so we can see rotation there.
North at 60 miles per hour.
Which one is that for? Port Charlotte?
Charlotte, DeSoto, Sarasota,
Yeah.
and this is still radar indicated, so we haven't had a train spotter see any of these
So
yet.
this is the same thing, same area, Northport, same deal. Back into your shelter. That one is going to cross 41 here right now actually, because this is probably about a minute old, a little less than a minute old there. But 75, it'll be just a couple minutes before it crosses over there. Let's zoom out and do the polygon so I can see where all of those warnings are. I can tell you right now, just looking at that, there's one there, and there should be another one for this little cell right here. We're going to have to watch that. Is that it? Is that what you got there too, Michaela?
Yeah, and I have a quick zoom in here, Bobby, on my side of things, and I just want to give some street level mapping here just so people can hear these names. In Northport, we're talking about Cranberry Boulevard, we've got Prince Boulevard, Yorkshire Street, Veterans Boulevard, Plantation Boulevard. If you live on any of those streets in Northport, you need to be in your tornado safe spot immediately. Again, this is along I-75, those neighborhoods there in Northport. If you are near Warm Mineral Springs as well, you need to head into your tornado safe spot. Again, this is an active situation. Not only do we have that tornado warning, but Bobby and Colleen, I want you to look just a little further north. They did extend that warning for DeSoto, Hardee, and Manatee counties. Also seeing that tornado warning for that area. That's going over I-70. So two major roads that we are seeing these tornado warnings cover, I-75 and I believe that's Highway 70, Edgeville, Sandy, Lily, you need to be in your tornado safe spot. 64, if you live along 64, you need to move into the most windowless interior room of your home. Sugar Bowl Road, that is an area. Dankin Dairy, we've got Curtis Road as well. We've got Mobley Pond Lane, Man Road.
Which they can't see your computer, by the way.
No, these are just names. If you hear your town name,
this is what we're looking at, so I want to be able to
hear. If you hear your street name, you need to be moving into your tornado safe spot as we're continuing to track this system. Bobby's looking at our velocity right now. Like we were talking about, it looks like just random colors, but what we're seeing as meteorologists on this map is those two colors. Where you see those two colors start to get really tight, almost like they're balling up together. That's what we look for as meteorologists for rotation. It looks like our winds are spinning up and getting close together, kind of like a cinnamon roll. That's what we're looking for, these things to be spinning up, and that's where we see that rotation and potentially this tornadic activity. Again, when we look at these from the National Weather Service, what they're telling us is that this is something called radar indicated. So that means that we haven't had a trained spotter see this tornado yet. This is just telling us that the radar has seen this, but we haven't had a trained spotter or any sort of emergency management actually see this forming in the sky. It still is very dangerous. This is a dangerous situation that you need to be moving to your tornado safe spot. Port Charlotte, that is an area that we're seeing that rotation over right now. This is about to head over I-75. If you know anyone driving along that area, they need to be pulling off. You cannot outrun these storms. One of the worst places you can be during a tornadic event is going to be in your vehicle. So if you know people driving along that roadway right now, tell them to head to their tornado safe spot, pull off the road, get into a covered area, a parking garage if they can. Again, very heavy rainfall. You will not be able to see either of these systems. They're going to be what we call rain wrapped. That means that the rain is going to be so heavy that it's going to completely blind our skies, that we won't be able to get pictures or videos. So don't try to get outside and see these things. You need to stay indoors in your tornado safe spot until we get the all clear. I know we don't have basements here in Florida, so what does your windowless interior room look like? That could be a bathroom. That could be a closet. When you get there, you need to protect your head and make sure you continue to listen to our coverage, whether that's on your TV and you turn it up very loud, or whether that is on our app. You can stream live on our app or on YouTube as well. If you don't have our app downloaded, just get onto YouTube as well, and you can continue to listen to our coverage there. What we're looking at on your screen right now are our velocities. These are telling us again where this the tightest rotation could be. Now, when we see these systems, we are going to continue to watch multiple areas of potential rotation because when we see hurricanes come into our area, these outer bands of our system, they're going to spin up and spin up quickly. So we will get these quick spin up tornadoes that come into the area, and by the time they're here, they're starting to move out. tornadoes moving at 60, 70, 75 miles per hour, that is incredibly fast for these systems. Let's put that in perspective. Some of our local highways, our speed limits range between about 55 to 65 miles per hour. Have you ever rolled down the window and stuck your hand out the window to feel how fast that air is? It's even faster than that, 75 miles per hour. Now this map you're seeing here, this is called our debris tracker, our correlation coefficient. That's what we call it as meteorologists. What we're looking for here, I'm going to step on, introduce myself. I'm meteorologist Michaela Lucero, helping out with coverage. What we're looking for here is that little color right there. That is called a debris ball, which tells us that we have got some sort of debris lofted up into the air. So it tells us that this potential tornado is picking things up off the ground and pulling them into the sky. That could be tree limbs, that could be shingles off of roofs. It could be any sort of debris, and our radar starts to pick it up and we can see it right there. No. So that does give us a good idea that there could be a tornado potentially on the ground right here. This is a dangerous, potentially life-threatening situation. Move to your tornado safe spot immediately. Edgeville, this is just going to the north of you right now as we continue to track this, and it's heading towards 64 as we speak. So again, you won't be able to see this very heavy rainfall with this system. It will be rain wrapped. Here's some good news. We're not seeing any hail with this particular system. We have had reports of hail with this. These bands starting to come in. We have seen reports of hail. Small hail, though. We haven't seen that quarter size. It's usually just been pea-sized hail. So it will be loud as this comes by. You'll hear the rain. You'll hear that hail. And I think we're starting to get some thunder and lightning along with it as well. So if the kiddos are at home right now, hey, guys, I know this is going to be a loud system, but stick with mom and dad. Get to your tornado safe spot, okay? We're going to continue to keep you updated, and we'll let you know exactly when this storm system passes and you can get out of the tornado safe spot. My name's Michaela, and I'm going to continue to help you and let you know where this is at. And my friends Bobby and Colleen, we're all here to keep you safe and let you know where this storm system is. So this is our data coming in right now. Tornado warning, we've got 2 of them, one in effect until 6 o'clock for Charlotte, DeSoto, and Sarasota counties. If you live in any of those counties, move to your tornado safe spot immediately. This is an incredibly dynamic system, so that means it's fast changing, okay? We have seen this area be really dry, and then quickly we've seen heavy rainfall, gusty winds, and this tornadic activity move in. Again, I have rarely seen storms move at 75 miles per hour. That is incredibly fast for tornadoes to move. These are going towards the north and northeast at times. And again, these are these outer bands of the larger storm system that is Hurricane Helene. Now, I believe we are still seeing that as a Category 3 hurricane. So even though we haven't seen the main impacts of that storm system, we are already getting incredibly dangerous weather coming into the area. So when we put this on a loop, you can see over the last hour or so how quickly these outer rain bands have moved into our area. Again, if you see your town name on there, you need to move to your tornado safe spot immediately. All right. Oh man, we've really got a significant velocity couplet here. Again, couplet means that's what we look for as meteorologists for tornadic signatures. So right here in Yorkshire Street, Pierce Boulevard, if you live there, North Point, you need to move to your tornado safe spot immediately. This is going over I-70 near Northport, and where we see these 2 colors, here's what I want you to notice. You see this color bar out here, right here, green and red. When we see green, go. That means we've got winds going towards the radar. Red means receding. We've got winds going away from the radar. So green, go, red, receding. When we get them to go against each other, we get this spin up, and that's what we're seeing right here. We're seeing these 2 colors spinning up together, wrapping up, and that's how we get that indication that we could be seeing some tornadic activity. So again, if you live along that along I-70, you need to move to your tornado safe spot. If we can scroll down a little bit closer to where that's at, there it is. North Point, here is that couplet right now, just to the west of Platte. That's where we're seeing the strongest indication indication of rotation from this system. Now, this is only lasting until 6 o'clock, which tells us that this is very, very fast moving. Some of these town names, 6:06 Sandy, that's when you'll be seeing this Edgeville right at 6:09. Now, to put that in perspective, this is in effect for some of these until 6 o'clock, so that is moving very, very quickly. You can tell just with those timelines there how quickly this system is continuing to pass through our area. So again, as we get a zoomed in look, this has just passed over I-75. I would say that this North Point area has started to at least clear out a little bit from the main threat of the rotation passing through, but now heading towards 72 is where we're going there. Colleen, do you have an update from the National Weather Service?
Yeah, I was just saying that they trimmed that back for Charlotte County.
Charlotte County is now in the clear
area. Yeah, it's starting to. Yeah, there we
Wonderful.
go.
So, oh, great. So if you live in Charlotte County,
on that. Both those warnings have 5 minutes left.
Wonderful. So both of these warnings, 5 minutes left. Actually, now we're down to 4 minutes left. So we're going to continue with these tornado warnings for at least the next 4 minutes for you as we see multiple areas of rotation in these systems. Now, this one a little bit further north, it's a little bit tougher to see where that rotation is at. Even though we can't see that tight couplet, it's telling me, as your meteorologist, that we are seeing strong winds that could be straight line winds, which means these ones are just as dangerous and just as damaging, even if we're not seeing that really tight couplet. So if you can help me say this town name right here.
Myakka Head.
Myakka Head. If you live in Myakka Head, you need to be in your tornado safe spot. A windowless interior room is where we're seeing some of that potential rotation for Myakka Head. And even though that one's not quite as tight, I do believe that we are seeing at least some straight line wind damage. Colleen, another update?
Sorry. So this is related to the hurricane right now. A spotter at Port Manatee did report 18 inches of rise in Tampa Bay water within the last hour. So that's just a little hurricane info.
Yeah, and which is great to remind us that this is a part of a way bigger system. Hurricane Helene that we've been tracking for days, we've been telling you about it, and now we are starting to get some of those incredibly dangerous impacts already in the form of this tornadic activity.
In fact, Michaela, that's one of the reasons why this particular band is doing that. While we have it on the velocity here showing the direction, the winds are changing direction. And that's what you've seen over the past hour, especially along the immediate coast. We haven't seen as much inland. These storms are moving from the south to the north-northwest, but the wind is now turning this way, almost due south. And then when you get just offshore, it's now south-southwest. So you've got winds here at different levels, at different directions. And that's the reason why, if I take this all the way out and put this into motion, that we're finding these extra lift, these extra rotation in this cell right here.
Absolutely.
And that's an indication that the surge is coming up.
Right, and this is a great picture here, Bobby, just to see where this is all coming from. There is Helene, Hurricane Helene, still a Category 3 storm. As of now, it's just about, what is that, Bobby? About 117 miles from Tampa. Right now, that's where the center of Helene is at. Just actually a little bit closer to 100 miles to our west. Right now, still moving over the Gulf of Mexico. A major hurricane at this time, still expected to continue to strengthen. Colleen?
They're going to allow that DeSoto and Sarasota tornado warning is going to expire.
Wonderful.
So those two counties at 6 o'clock are going to be set to expire.
So we'll continue with both of these warnings at least until 6 o'clock, so about 2 more minutes from now. But again, if you are in either of these tornado warnings, DeSoto, Sarasota County, 2 more minutes for your tornado safe spot. Now, if you are not in either of those regions, this is a great time to make sure you know where you're going to go. If you have a tornado warning in your area, which we've already seen, we've got the ingredients to have that. Make sure you know where you're going to go in your home. If you've evacuated and you're in a new area, know where you need to go. If you're in a hotel, if you're staying with friends or family, everybody needs to know the plan. Make sure you talk through with your kiddos as well where they're going to go. Your four-legged friends, if they get scared during these storms, have something for them. Maybe that's a toy, a treat, something to keep them safe and calm during these storms as we continue to watch these. So less than 60 seconds left here with what I anticipate both of these tornado warnings.
Yeah, Michaela, both of these, I mean, obviously they're going to let it go here in just a minute, but this one is the southernmost one. That looks a lot better. All right, it's crossing 72, but we don't see as much rotation with that one. Great news there. And then the one that's up north, that one's still it's got some straight line winds, as McKenna was telling you there, which can obviously still do damage. But as far
Looks
as
like
rotation,
they've both been canceled now.
Yeah.
as far as rotation, that's looking a whole lot better. All right, so since we got you, we're going to give it back over here to news in just a minute. Let me just do a full recap of the storm itself right now. Winds are at 125 miles per hour. Category 3 hurricane. The forecast at landfall was close to 120. It's probably not coming down from what it is right now. If so, it would be barely. So there it goes. It just now went down. It just went down at 6 o'clock to 120. Pressure is down to 950 millibars, which is low. It's about, the center itself is 115 miles west of us, right west of Tampa. And then you can see the movement has actually picked up in speed to the north-northeast now at 21 miles per hour. So it does look like it's going to be up there in the Big Bend. It does look like, for Tallahassee's sake, that they might get, say, the western side of the eye wall, or just maybe everything goes just to their west. But they're going to be very, very close. What we call the dirty side is the east side of all of this, right? It's where the winds are coming in out of the south and the southeast, kind of the side where we are, except for they were talking this eye wall. Look at that eye wall that's just coming up. Look at it really starting to get shaped up right there.
Absolutely.
So that is that's going to be impressive. And if you extract this out, it's likely going to be right up in this area, right about in here.
You do think it's still going to turn?
It's gonna go north-northeast, and then eventually the turn is not going to be. The turn is going to be something like this. It'll come like this, and then start wrapping around. In fact, here's the track from the Hurricane Center. The latest one, and we must have just got here at 6 o'clock, if they updated the track on it. So you can take it up towards the Big Bend, still going northeast, and then you see it turning to the northwest once it gets into Georgia. So hurricane warnings almost to Atlanta.
That is so impressive to see those warnings that far inland. We need the ocean to be able, that's the energy source for all of these. For anyone watching, we need the ocean, those moist waters to fuel these storms. And when it goes inland and we are still seeing warnings, that is incredibly impressive.
Two different things with that. It's the fact that, number one, we've got a lot of wind. So it has to dissipate as it goes over land. It's starting at 120, all right? Number two, you've got a movement at north to northeast at 21 miles per hour. So yes, when it moves over land, it falls apart, but it's not going to fall apart that quickly. And then the third thing is this atmosphere is juiced up. It's primed up here in Georgia. So it's not like it's just running into a bunch of dry air and that type of thing. It's had good southeast winds all day. That's through a lot of moisture, so it's a very moist atmosphere that it's in. And so the combination of all three of those things is going to make it fall apart a little bit slower. I don't know if it falls apart slower. I think the main thing is moving 21 miles per hour. It can just get further north before it can fall apart. And so not typical. Charlotte, North Carolina during Hugo had Hugo come in towards Charleston, something like right up into here. And then that had hurricane force winds up in the Charlotte area. That was, when was Hugo, 89? I think it was 89. Somebody's going to correct me here, but it was definitely.
I was actually there. It came 200 or 300 miles inland, Bobby. Did tremendous damage to Charlotte.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's what we're going to see in South Georgia and even Central Georgia, right?
89.
It was 89. 10. Yeah, Hugo was 89. So Helene, we'll have to see how far it wants to go in. The rain now is going to be breaking up a little bit for the immediate coast, but for inland locations that haven't seen a lot, Eastern Hillsborough, Eastern Pasco, Hernando, the rain's getting a little bit heavier. We've still got these bands that are down here in Eastern Manatee and Sarasota County, and they're going to be a little bit on the heavier side, but you notice a little bit of a break here, which is, again, this is not a rainfall flooding storm, although there will be some. But, you know, we had 15, 20 inches during Debbie. We'll get about 3, maybe 6 in some of the heavier spots.
Bobby, a question for you. You're talking about the winds with this system and how it just dropped from 125 to 120. For this to become a Category 4, which it at one point was expected to become, we need winds at about 130. What are you thinking right now with strengthening of this storm system?
You know, you look at this, and you can see that the north and northeast eye wall looks pretty good. It doesn't look as good down here on the southeast side. but some of that's the radar having a tough time getting through there. When we looked at the satellite, and the satellite's a little bit delayed. Let me reload this for you. I'm going to kind of just zoom in on the very latest one that we have here. If you see that eye, that to me tells me that it has a chance still.
What are you seeing there?
I see a concentric eye. Obviously, you see that on the radar, but you also see these bright colors here. Those are those thunderstorms that we're seeing on the radar. And what was going to happen, still will going to happen, is we're going to get some dry air wrapped around this thing.
And is that good or bad?
That is bad. Yeah, that is bad.
And
so
why is that?
Some of this is coming in like this. That's bad because it needs moisture. It needs 80-degree water underneath it. The moisture evaporates as it goes and makes condensation, makes those clouds, makes the wind. It's called baroclinicity. But what's happening is actually, I think some of that will cause that. Some of that dry air will get in there, and it's almost like a springtime thunderstorm on the back side of this. And I think what that will do is actually enhance some of our southwesterly winds coming in on the back side behind this. And that was kind of the thought all along, and that's why we were thinking that we would still get some of those higher winds on the back side of this thing as it moves further in. Look at that. I mean, that's a very far wide picture, but
and when we see thunder and lightning like that, when we see lightning around the eye, that tells us that it has a good amount of energy. We have to have those clouds bumping into each other to get those lightning strikes. And when we have such a big cluster of that thunder and lightning, that tells us we've got a good amount of energy in that storm.
Yep. So a lot of folks here remember watching Ian make landfall down in Fort Myers area. Right before landfall, it got a ton of thunderstorm activity right around the eye wall. Let me take this back a couple hours. Let's go back 3 hours, and we'll see how much you can see. Little bit, little bit, little bit. We're looking at the light. You see all that right there?
Zoom in a little, Bobby. Let's see it a little closer.
If that can be maintained, then we would expect it to get a little bit stronger. It just weakened just a little bit, but
do you think that eye wall's recycling?
Could be. It doesn't have enough time. So what happens is you get a nice, good, round structure going all the way around the inside, and then eventually that falls in, and then you get an outer one that will take over. Look, at this point, I mean, the devil's in the details with that. I don't think it's
You've got your weather people nerding out over here.
I did want to bring a report that we got from one of the weather flow stations at Skyway Fishing Pier. This was close to 6 o'clock near the entrance to Tampa Bay. Recently measured a sustained wind of 50 miles per hour, but a gust 69 miles per hour. So we're certainly seeing those winds really pick up.
Can we get the Bellwether Beach camera, please? If you get that, I'm going to drive around on that. We've got storm surge flooding on the beachfront. It looks like in the pool, not in the pool yet, but right up against some of the condo buildings that are out there on the beach. And we're just getting started with this water rise. What time we're sitting at?
While they're working on that camera, Bobby, I can talk a little bit about our current data for the storm system. Again, this is coming in from 6 o'clock, so just minutes ago. And I do think those winds have picked up again, Bobby. We're back up to 125. With the strength of those winds. So now up to 125, but we are moving at a little bit of a faster pace at about 23 miles per hour towards the north-northeast.
That's it,
so
right
we
there.
have seen a little bit of strengthening with the wind speeds and a good pace at where this is. As far as location-wise, it's about 115 miles west of Tampa. So this is what we're currently with, Bobby. This is what we're currently seeing. And like we were talking about just minutes ago, the wind speeds, we are expecting this to potentially strengthen, and we're just 5 miles per hour away from this becoming a Category 4 storm.
Yeah, and the speed just came up too, 23 miles per hour. That's a good thing to get this thing in and out of here. All right, let's go back over to St. Pete Beach. This is the Bellwether Beach Resort, our weather camera out there, and we're going to be looking towards past the grill at the top of your screen down the beach. Look at the water that is now up against some of the condos right here. You can see it's breaching the dunes in some locations. And that will continue. That's a lot of water. So a little after 6 now, we're still thinking
new warning.
surge.
We have a new warning.
Okay, thinking surge will peak
yeah.
right around, it's got to be 9, 10, 11 o'clock tonight. So we still have a lot of water that's going to come up. All right, guys, where is the warning that we have?
Warnings in Manatee and Sarasota counties, and Charlotte, and that goes until 6:45. Of course, Charlotte's a little bit outside of our viewing area, but we still want to include our friends down in that area as well. But this just went from, so Charlotte, DeSoto, Manatee, Sarasota counties under that tornado warning right now that just got issued. So Bobby's bringing up velocity radar.
Let's pick that up. That's Port Charlotte. It's way down here, guys. So if you're in that area, watch out. This is a water spout coming on right now. And it's more of the same of what we have been seeing. There's been some rotation in those cells there. That south of Sandy right there is basically what was left over from the other one. And then, another water spout down there.
A lot of straight line winds with this one too.
Yeah.
As you head further north.
Yep, and that's just going to be in that band. So when you do see any of these bands anyways, just you see that band there, the whole thing, there's going to get gusty winds. You'll get a little break here. You'll get some more gusty winds in these higher reflectivities that you see. But there is another one. This one they drew this one a little bit longer and took it out to 6:45, give it about 35 minutes from now. But we'll have to see. And so what we'll just keep doing is to keep watching that. Let's go back out live now to that camera. I'm going to go back out to the beach and look at some of this flooding that we're seeing. I'm going to go just a little bit up here. Look off in the distance. Those are some of the beach boxes floating around out there.
Oh.
See all that?
Mm-hmm.
That is part of it's right up against the dunes right now. And that's going to continue. Actually, there's some people you can see out there checking it out too right now. I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer. Again, this is the beginning. Remember, if you've been following with us all day, we've been talking about this being this afternoon, well, this evening really, through late tonight, and then that will be the time. That looks like it might even be a TV crew out there, guys. So Don Cesar up in the top here. I'm kind of going to go go down the beach. Let me put it that way here, all the way down towards the end. We'll keep going down. You can see there. It's a little tougher to see. Now I'm going to bring it all the way back out to the position right out in front of the bellwether. And now it's victory at sea out there. If you saw earlier, we were talking about it was calm. We had surf coming through, but the wind was blowing offshore, so it looked really smooth. But now the wind has changed, and that's what we were looking for the surge. You see how choppy those waters are, and that is what is going to push that water up. So I'm going to go back up here to Pass Grill channel. Let's do Blind Pass. Oh, what is that? Is that a car on the beach? I can't tell that. That's Blind Pass there. You can see the wind starting to pick back up. So so that's the pass it's tough to see. The pass is really on the far right-hand side right there. I'm gonna come back home again here.
And Bob, you said the eye is just west of us now.
Almost due west of us.
Almost due west.
Yeah,
okay.
About 140 miles, I think it was.
115.
115 now? Okay, yeah.
Bobby, we're watching this right now, and just first from perspective, this is really just the beginning. We're not even seeing the worst of the storm surge right now, correct?
Exactly right. We're thinking after 9 o'clock it peaks. Let's get that to zoom up just a little bit. I wanted to see that. Sorry, guys. What I'm seeing on my computer is not what you're seeing at home, so I'm kind of driving this blind a little bit. But yeah, the surge is going to continue to come up. We had low tide at 5:20, high tides at 2 a.m. Mm-hmm. So the tide's coming up regardless, right? The only thing that is adding on top of this now, obviously, is the wind and the waves, and that will slowly come down towards 2 a.m. I just think that wind will peak through about 9 p.m. through about 11 p.m. And so that's why I think that's where we'll see that peak in the surge. I want to take this back around and also look back over towards Boca Ciega Bay here to check and see what the water levels look like in Boca Ciega. And yeah, that's really tough to see right there. Mm-hmm. Really tough to see right there, but yeah, it's let's go down, in fact, and drop it down a little bit, see if we can see Gulf Boulevard there.
Do you need any tide times? I've got these over here.
Well, and Bobby, we knew 6 o'clock, that's when we were hearing from Pinellas County, effective at 6, access to barrier islands was closed to everybody, to citizens, to residents, until further notice. Whether residents could still evacuate, they still can, but.
Yeah, there's some of these houses that are sitting out here. We'll try and zoom in on that because we've been keeping an eye on those water levels, and this is when they're coming up. This is the surge. This is where, and this is actually going to start happening slowly further north you go. So what's happening right now in the Bay Area, our friends watching up there in Hernando, and especially up in Citrus County, it's starting to get here, but you're not seeing the rise that we're seeing right here now. These boats, we were out zooming in there, we were actually looking at those earlier. And that dock is basically underwater right now. Yeah. And I would say we're probably going to go another 2 feet at least. And that's a lot of water right there alone.
Where are we looking, Bobby? What direction? There?
So we're looking south-southeast.
Are we looking out toward like Vina Del Mar and that whole area down there?
Yeah. So you almost, if I were to pan straight up, you'd look back towards the Skyway.
Yeah.
So the bridges coming over to the beach are on the left side, going to the right. There's the tornado that you're seeing on the left side of the screen. That's the tornado warning for the Port Charlotte area. That is getting ready to cross 75 and it's going to end out over there. Very rural area, but Port Charlotte obviously want to be in your safe spot, and I would do that for Northport as well, especially on the eastern side of town there. That is the current warning. What did that go to, 645?
645.
Yeah, so one more cell there, and you can see they've extended this thing all the way up towards the north.
This one, it's a little faster, up to 65 now, Bobby.
Yep.
But still incredibly fast for a tornadic system. We usually see these 30, maybe 40 miles per hour. So to see these moving at 60, 65, 75 miles per hour, these are very fast moving.
And you can see how this was a water spout. See, if I go back in time here and play this out, crossed over into Port Charlotte, was trying to fall apart, and then it's tightening up again, that little couplet. So Dave was asking the question earlier, how do we know, how do we spot these things out? And Michaela did a great job explaining this, how we're looking at these two different colors really close to each other, kind of dancing around each other. When they become further apart, that's when that storm is weakening, but when it becomes closer together like that, it shows signs that that is tightening up that rotation. I'm going to put that warning back up here.
Yeah, and of course, as we continue to track these, you need to be in your tornado safe spot, whatever that looks like for you. So again, if you evacuated and you're in a new place now, just make sure that you're moving into whatever that looks like. So if that is, if it's your home, you need to be in a windowless interior room at least until 6:45. Again, for any area that you see here in this red box, you need to move towards the a bathroom, a closet, whatever that might look like for you, and just wait it out. We're only at about 30 minutes left with this tornado warning that we've got right here. And even if this isn't, we don't have a confirmed tornado with this, we're still going to see dangerous winds that are passing through with this system along anywhere in this red box that you see here. So this is including Northport. We're also including Port Charlotte. Now this has been a very, this area has been continuing to see tornado warnings. We have seen multiple of these thunderstorms pass over this area, so just make sure that you're hanging out where you're supposed to be as of this evening. Now we do have a good couplet here, if we want to pull it up just a little bit further, heading over once again over I-70, a very similar area that once had tornadic activity, potential tornadic activity, again just about 20-30 minutes ago, and again we're going to continue to watch. I believe we have a camera. Let's see this camera potentially seeing this rotation. Oh man, wow! You can really see this camera bouncing around. Thank goodness we don't have any cars out there. If we could do picture-in-picture with this.
And that's 75 north.
This is I-75 north. Oh my goodness, it's rare that we see cameras bouncing that significantly. We'll see them moving around. If you know anybody out on the roads right now, anywhere on I-70 or I-75.
I-75 north, yep.
I-75 north, give them a call
south.
and tell them to pull over. Again, you do not want to be driving in these systems. You cannot outrun a tornado, okay? I know we see it in the movies. I'm sure we all just saw the movies showing us where these tornadoes are at. You cannot outrun these. You are not fast enough. You need to pull off the road and get to a covered parking spot if you can.
We are also getting some video in right now. We'll see if we can get that to you. It'll be a little bit for that, but it looks like there's damage from a tornado in the Cape Coral area. And that's the first one that we've seen. This is from earlier, okay? But that's the first time that we've seen confirmed damage. And so that leads us to believe that these have at least touched down a little bit, okay? So this is the area right now. We're just about getting it out of the area. In fact, this is the rotation. It's north now. It's moving so fast that this is actually a little bit old. So it's north of 75 now, all clear for the Northport, for all these areas you see here from Pierce Boulevard and places off south, of course, of Pierce Boulevard, but all the way out towards the west. Now, if you're in Platte, you should be fine. This will go just barely to your west. It's going to go right out. There's just not a whole lot there. We're getting over toward Myakka State Park. But 72 again, and let's keep going just a little bit further off towards the north. And Sandy, eventually, if it makes it there. If you notice, the last two that we just had lasted about 20, 25 minutes or so, if that. The ones before that were a little bit longer, and so they're kind of losing a little bit of steam.
Helene just got upgraded to a Category 4.
Holy cow. Let's go to that number right now. Let's go back out to that thing. Hurricane Helene has now been upgraded to a Category 4 hurricane. They just went to 130. Pressure's down to 947.
Floating, Bobby, there it goes.
And it's moving to the north-northeast at 23 miles per hour. So now they're doing these advisories. When it's this close, you can look at the radar. They can get a whole lot out of this now just looking at the radar, so they can see the velocities. Look how concentric this is. See how like a concentric circle is? Obviously, there's a little notch right here, but that is an indication that it's strengthening. It just went from 120 to 130 in about a couple hours or so, and you see all that lightning right around. Let's go back out to the radar and check that lightning right around the center. Now this, again, we will not see these winds here in Tampa area, but somebody up in the Panhandle, up in the Big Bend area is going to get something close to that. Now, it's a little bit on the scary side. What's that, guys? There we go.
Yeah,
when you see those numbers, I tell you, look, this is the highest number that they can find in there. Most of the wind in that eye wall is not 130. But some of it is, and they have to report that. Talking about the Hurricane Center, the storm guys that go in there as well. Basically, that is the eye wall on the satellite. This is the radar. So if we can switch over, just hit radar in the upper right-hand corner there. Even NextRad will do at this point. There you go. You can see where all the lightning is. See that? And then you can see the very heavy bands right here. You don't always get a very good picture via radar what it looks like on the back side because the radar is sitting here, and some of this actually blocks some of the radar energy. But that is a really good looking eye wall right there. 130 mile per hour winds, and it's probably right in there. All right, and usually it's on the northeast side. You can see it's got 60 strikes, 60 strikes of lightning out there. Yeah, that's a big one. Rain. So when I showed you earlier the track, let's do the wind radii if we can, guys, because this right here is the very edge of almost solid 60 mile per hour winds, right? It's just brushing us. And though we may not see that right on land, that is so close and it's pushing so much water. It's not like it's even out here pushing water. It's right next to us pushing water. And that's why this is such a big surge problem. We knew it was going to be kind of close to us, but we know the closer it gets, the higher wind you're going to get, the more water it's going to be pushing. So that's the deal with that. You can see all the other bands from earlier. This is much earlier today. That's you can see where the satellite is.
It's just
all right.
I was trying to find it.
No, I'll do that here. We'll just go over here. Thank you. We'll put this one up. This is some of the heavier rain that was there. And basically, those numbers will stay offshore, the heaviest ones. They're going to pop up. There it is. See all that? That's kind of adding it up. But what you really want to focus on are the colors here, right? This band right here. This is probably going to be one of the strongest lines that comes through the area. And that will continue to rotate outwards. And so what that means is now east of I-75, you're going to start to see some of the heaviest rain. And we'll have to continue to watch it for spin-ups all the way through. Ironically, this area that you see here has less of a chance of seeing tornadoes, except for maybe even in that eye wall. But that definitely has the highest winds. So now Cat 4, 130 from Clearwater Beach. This is about 100 miles. And another good thing to notice is that it's actually moving north of us now. And so, unfortunately, that means the winds will really start to come on shore, but it does mean that it will continue to move away and that we will get this out of here pretty quickly. What was I think the movement now was back up to about 23 miles per hour. So that's another thing as well. All right, let's go to our tornado warning. We still have the tornado warning down here. I'm going to see what that looks like at this point. There it is, still rotating right in here, but it definitely doesn't look like it used to. Let me get this up here. I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to back this up just a little bit. See that? That looks like a really good tornado. That looks much weaker. So 625. They're going to let that go. They're going to go to 645.
645.
So I hope they cut that one back because we're not going to need that warning there. If you do live out in that area, certainly be in your safe spot.
It does look like that rotation's a little bit more in a rural area.
Oh, it's definitely rural. That's out towards Mayaca State Park.
We're trying to I'm trying to zoom in as close as I can on our radar to get some street level mapping, give you some street names, and right where that rotation is, there are no street names.
Yeah, there's nothing out there.
Yeah, some good news at least that it's in a rural spot.
And backing this back up a little bit, you can see it certainly looks a whole lot weaker at this time. And I don't see anything else upstream. Further line, if I go up this line further, I don't see anything else there. That's been very good. This is getting into the really populated areas, I-4, Eastern Hillsborough, Western Polk County. But nope, right here, and guess where we had it for Debbie? Right in these. Look at that. Sometimes they just take it from the same tornado because they had it going from here to here and it's already here, so they just extend it further to the north, right?
Got it.
But there can be times where you have another rotation pop up, and that's what we were kind of looking at. This one appears that's the rotation right there. This area near Fordville, that's what I keep looking at, but I think that's okay. But that's the main. Okay, yep, I think that's okay. It's just look interesting. It's just kind of on the fringe here, and that's why the color's that way. But this one right here is the main one, and that's the one that's going to continue to push off towards the north and the west, north-northwest, about 75 miles per hour. South of there, Shinytown. Just about in the clear. I think it's already past you. It's moving so fast, it's likely over 72 right now. So Shinytown, you are in the clear. Folks south of 72, essentially in the clear at this point. Sandy, you're not going to have to deal with this. That's fine. It's not even raining out there. Ottery, you need to be in your safe spot. It's going to be very, very close as this comes by. We don't have, trying to see if there's a debris signal. Can't really tell. That looks a little interesting in here. I would expect to see this just with the back of the rain, so that's kind of tough. This is our radar here actually seeing the rotation. We know now it's right up here, but the algorithms in the actual radar software can see all of that and give us a heads up. So let's zoom out just a little bit, please, Colleen, and let's go look up towards the north end of Sarasota County here in Lakewood Ranch. So let's go back to the velocity. That's fine, velocity there. Okay, so these are, see what I'm saying? That's okay though. I think we just got another scan. That looks a lot better. All right, so now let's pan down just a little bit so I can see 72. Okay, this is getting much broader. This is getting much broader here. And what I mean by that is it's not as tight next to each other, and that's an indication that we're now seeing this actually spread out a little bit. And what's probably happened is the storm's starting to fall apart just a little bit, and this should spread out. So Sarasota, Manatee counties, tornado warning. It looks like it goes up into, not quite all the way up to Hillsborough County. I don't expect that. I was going to say almost up to Duet, but it's kind of right on the borderline of where Duet is. And Duet, I always think about Duet. I mean, we had a tornado years ago. It rolled a mobile home, unfortunately killed somebody in the home, and then a family member was so upset they died. So that's what can happen in tornadoes. I know people get upset when we break into coverage, your favorite show, and we're doing it for this one little area, but that's the difference we're hoping to make, that some people can stay safe. So 72, this is it. That's the cell right there. Moving to the north, so Lakewood Ranch, this is 75 in Lakewood Ranch, right? So on the eastern side of the neighborhood and closer to 70. If you live right just south of 70 in Lakewood Ranch, that's where we're going to be watching. You should be in your safe spot right now. This does go all the way up to just about Parrish and Duet, but it looks like the biggest threat is going to be east of 75 for this particular one. Heavy rain coming in now for the beaches, including Sarasota, downtown Sarasota. In fact, do we have the camera from Van Wezel, if we can pull that up real fast, because I want to see what those winds look like. That's different than what these winds are, right? Oh, no, it's not going to work there. I was sorry.
Oh.
Sorry, Colleen. Typically that would work for us, but not here at our backup facility. There it is still.
Yeah.
We just got another one.
It looks like that couplet's trying to tighten up again.
Yeah, it is. Hidden River, Fruitville Road, east of Tatum. You need to be in your safe spot. That's Myakka Road, Verna Road areas as well. This is all right there west a little bit.
Okay.
So you get a tornado, you get a tornado.
It does look like these are more straight line winds now that we've seen this become a little bit more ragged. It's still just as dangerous. Straight line winds do tell us that our winds are strong enough to get damage, like we've been seeing some of these pictures coming in from the National Weather Service. But straight line winds just as strong, just as damaging, and potentially just as deadly. And these storms have proved to be damaging for a number of spots across our area. So 6:45 is how long we've got this one warning in effect for. So at least another 15 minutes. We're going to continue to monitor this one for DeSoto, Manatee, and Sarasota counties as we are continuing to see this potential rotation with this one. But it is becoming much more ragged, and like Bobby was saying, it's in a pretty rural area, so we don't have a ton of our major roadways out there. So some good news on that side. When I'm using my weather graphics, I'm on another computer here, but I zoom in as close as I can, and I'm not even getting any of these street levels. We're able to see each and every street, and we're just not seeing that at this time. So at least some good news that it's a rural area, and it's very ragged at this time.
Guys, can we, back in the control room, if you can get up our St. Pete Beach bellwether camera. I'll give you a little bit to do that. We have water crossing Gulf Boulevard now. The area, Boca Ciega Isle, 46th Avenue and Gulf Boulevard, all those houses, Bella Vista, basic Mirabella, water at the bottoms of the houses. A lot of those are built-up houses. Most of those areas have water in them at this particular time, and I'll show you that coming up here in just a little bit. By the way, that last velocity screen that you're looking at right there looks a whole lot better. It's just about gone now. So that's good news as far as that's concerned.
And this is where, Bobby, where we've talked about the timing of this leading up to all of this, and this is where we're really starting to kick up up and down the Tampa Bay region.
Yep.
No one's escaping kind of the impacts of this at this very moment.
Yep. I've got it zoomed in. If you guys got that camera, guys.
So it's a little grainy.
Yeah, well, it's raining really hard on it, so it's fuzzy. We have enough wind that actually blows some of the rain off of it, clears it out. No, that's not it. Okay. It's okay. Let's just go back to the radar, and I want to show you that this is the area that we're watching right here. But that's the cell, and that looks a whole lot better, just as the structure of the cell here. Warning-wise, we still have that warning down to the south here. This is the new one. It's way down there, right? And it's going to get out even into a more rural area eventually. That's not really in our neck of the woods just yet. But Arcadia, you want to keep an eye on that one. That would be about 25 minutes from now. This is the one that we're watching, and that one looks a whole lot better right there. So we're not seeing much in the way of rotation. I'm going to come back out to the big picture here, and you can see that the heavy rain, that band that's been producing these tornadoes, continues to work its way inland. And at this time, it's not showing a whole lot of rotation, so that's really good news. There is that eye that's offshore. Wow.
How big is that eye?
Do
we know? I'm sorry, I'm just curious.
Real quick for you.
That is a great question. We'll go ahead and just measure it. Start out, I'll go ahead and stop this. So it's about 40, 45 miles wide. That's a big eye. For instance, Ian had a 40-mile wide eye. Charlie had a 10-mile wide eye. Both made the same Cayo Costa.
Yep.
Both made landfall right there. And big time difference, obviously, because of that. But that's a big eye wall as far as eye walls go. And that's kind of what I expected. And not only that, the wind around this, the wind flow around all of this is big.
Man, just look at the state.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, show you this picture here, make it a little bit different.
Well, Bobby, if we measure this across, this storm from top to bottom is over 200 miles long. When we look at it north to south, it's an incredibly huge system. Just looking at this at one radar, over 200 miles wide.
Bobby, look at that video right here. This is, I think you were kind of talking about Gulf Boulevard.
Yeah, no, guys, did we not have that? We had the camera up. This is the one where we were seeing the water going up in the dunes. If you could pull that one up. That is
I believe
Gulf
that
Boulevard.
camera's down
almost snapping.
that you're wanting.
You see that?
Mad Beach.
All right, Mad Beach. So, beginning of it, again, add another 2 foot to all of that. And so you think, we were talking to some people earlier, like, well, should I stay there? I'm like on the 3rd floor. So, yeah, sure. But you don't want to stay there because what happens to something? You have a heart attack, cut yourself with a knife. Nobody's coming to get you. You'll be dry up there, right? It's not going to go that high. But that's why everybody has to get out of there. And you want to take your cars and your vehicles with you as well.
At this point, though, it's too late.
Oh, it's too late now.
Yeah,
No. This was the decision-making process. People were trying to say they wanted to stay. It's like, you just can't. You can't get out on the backside. Tornado watches from South Florida, essentially up through almost to Charlotte at the same time. Now, these are watches, which means could get tornadoes in any of those storms. The small polygons you see down there towards the Port Charlotte area, Northport, those are the tornado warnings that we're watching for right there. So we're getting brushed, and I got to say, this does look like our forecast model, the graph we call it, is really pretty close to what's happening, because this is going to go in a little east. It's going to go up towards Cross City, maybe just to the west of Cross City, which is Perry, North Carolina, Perry, Florida, no stranger to tornadoes, or to, tornadoes either, but from landfalling hurricanes. It's amazing. Now, because Crystal River is going to be closer to the center, they're going to get more wind. And it's just starting to be pushing in up there. We're seeing it right now in Pinellas County and in Hillsborough. I mean, Bayshore is going to be filling up this year, even more so than what it already was. That northeast quadrant is, what we normally look, but not necessarily applies, and it didn't apply for Debbie either.
It's not
because our tornado warnings are in the southeast quadrant right now.
It's not shifting to the east much right now. It's still kind of staying northeast at this point.
Yep, northeast. We expect that track to continue. I think overall, though, that the landfall is going to be a little east of what they originally had it.
You were talking about Crystal River. I know that we have Aaron Parsegian up there, and I think we'll touch base with him after this tornado warning expires. But interesting to see.
It is, and it's alarming when you see places like Gulf Boulevard with water on it. You see, Madeira Beach there, Tom Stewart there. This is highly unusual. We just don't see this very often around here. So we're looking at the live pictures right here. You see the wind. You see the essentially sort of almost like white caps right there on Gulf Boulevard. It's just not a scene we see. There are some tall buildings in the area, but there continue to be in that area some smaller, even 1-story, 2-story buildings there. So those are really vulnerable right now.
Get an idea of just like how intense the wind is.
The power, right?
Yeah, the power of it as you look at not only the traffic light, but also that. And this
is the Bellwether Beach Resort right here. This is a camera right here. Bobby was talking about this. Bobby, maybe you want to talk about what we're seeing here right now.
That is Gulf Boulevard, all right? And that had water on top of it. You can still see it. Some cars were driving by earlier. Finally, it's clearing up a little bit. You can see that the wind has picked up a little bit. I'm going to pan up a little bit here and come up here to the northwest, or up and to the left a little bit, because that right there, that's what I was talking about. Dave, I was showing you that kind of quietly. That is the Bella Vista area, Boca Ciega Isle, sticking out right there. If I can get it zoomed in here, let's see if I get it just right. Those places all have water, at least at the bottom of the houses. A lot of these are built up, and it's the lower floor that has the water on it. But come on, focus. There's a lot of water out there. Boca Ciega Bay goes right up over all of that.
So that
over the seawalls.
And so we're looking north right here.
Southeast.
Okay. So Boca Ciega Isle, Boca, and I see it right there, and Bella Vista as well. Okay.
I'm going to have to zoom out a little bit just because it's not going to focus. Oh, almost saw it just a little bit there.
So we're looking down toward Pasagrille, that area, south.
Yeah, behind it.
Right.
Yep, behind it. In fact, let's go back out. Let's go back, look at the coast again there.
Oh my goodness, look at that.
And you look how high the water is.
Much more than what you saw, I think.
Much, just when we were just there, right?
Yeah, this very wide beach, you know, for people who haven't been there.
And that it just will continue. In fact, I'll go to the right just a little bit.
And for this area, Bobby, right here, when do you think the peak time will be for these folks to see really, really bad storm surge?
Probably 8, 9, 10 o'clock.
Okay.
So we're a couple of hours, a few hours out from it. That's the impressive part about this. I mean, it's just unbelievable, really. How lucky have we gotten not to have seen this so many times? And now we've got a Cat 4 hurricane about 100 miles offshore, and it's not even going to make landfall here, and it's doing this.
It does really emphasize just how vulnerable we are around here. We saw how Ian took a turn to our benefit, but we are really vulnerable sticking right out here, into the Gulf of Mexico.
Very shallow. Not only are we not built on a top of tall land, right? The water, the elevation that we're sitting on is low, plus the depth of the water when you go offshore is very shallow, and it just makes it easier for this to push water, for the winds to push the water up onto the coast, and that's exactly what that is. So this is going down to Pasadena. Let's see if this thing can focus. This is going to focus all the way down. It's probably too far out at that point to see it. Yeah.
There's just so much rain.
Yeah, so much rain.
I mean, these areas have really worked on beach nourishment, renourishment, and it's been, and it's gone in a flash.
Gone like that. Yeah. And look, and they'll tell you that's the nature. They know. I mean, I think a lot of times, I know from North Carolina experience, those guys that renourish the beaches, they have like every 4-year contract. They just keep coming back. They just keep doing what you have to do. It's expensive, but it's going to be cheaper than all the real estate that you would lose on the coast.
Right.
So we were looking closer to this building here. Look how much higher the water's come.
Oh yeah. Can you?
I'm going to go just to the right a little bit here. There you go. Going to zoom in just a little bit.
So we're looking south. Almost like you're looking down toward Pasadena, but
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
And you see those whatever beach boxes or whatever they are floating there in the water right now.
Yep. I'll zoom in on those too. We'll see what we can see there. So one thing that happens when you get storms like this is you get a ton of debris in the water.
Yeah.
Come on, focus for us here. You get a ton of debris in the water, and that will last for weeks. So we have a big boating community here in Tampa Bay, and there's going to be a lot of stuff out there. There's going to be a lot of docks. I mean, look, Adalia came through, and if you're familiar with Marker 1 up in Dunedin, beautiful marina there, gone. The docks were gone. The marina itself, the building, fine, but the docks are basically gone, and they're having to rebuild the whole thing. And that was from 2 to 4 foot of surge from Adalia. Yeah. This is almost twice.
And keep in mind, a lot of folks in this area are liveaboards. This is their home that is often damaged in this. We saw it in Gulfport recently. We've seen it in other parts. We've seen. Producers asking us to just double check on the status of the tornado warning.
Yep, we're still looking at 645. It's down south here. We can come back over to the radar. They still have this one that's going until 645. This is the very weak one, and in fact, what they've done is they say they're going to let it expire, but it doesn't go away. This is that area. There's no concerns there. Myakka Head's fine. Sandy's fine. It's, in fact, not even in the warned area anymore. So we were technically, this is the cell. That's the warning. That's why we haven't been talking about it much. The other one that's further down south, that one will eventually be up towards Arcadia. It right now is still down southeast of Port Charlotte, almost east of Port Charlotte. It's this area here south of Morgantown, right there. So Arcadia is up in here, and it's going to be a little while before it gets to that. As far as that rotation goes, that one even looks a whole lot less than what it did. So tending to weaken. Look at it here a little bit different way. Yeah, it looks like that one's kind of falling apart just a little bit. So good news there as far as that's concerned. We don't have technically any tornadic activity in our area, but that's that. This is the warned cell here, and that's going up towards Arcadia. If this were to go all the way to Arcadia, be about 7:01. So we've got about 16 minutes, 17 minutes or so for that to happen.
Hey, Bobby, do you think that we could check in with Hannah, who's up in Hernando County, and just see what they're seeing up there? Or do you want to stick on this?
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, sure. We're fine right now. Arcadia's fine. We don't have really any tornadoes in the area right now. That warning is down south of us, down in Charlotte County. So I'm fine if you guys are at this point. I'd love to know what's going on there, because Hernando's, remember, we're seeing it first here in Pinellas, Manatee and Pinellas, parts of Sarasota, but certainly Manatee, certainly Pinellas and Hillsborough. So we want to look at Bayshore. We want to look at anything in Pinellas, and then they dropped it. Good. Then we'll go up to, there we go.
And we know the surge as you go north is going to be worse, and that's what we've been talking about.
And you can see Hannah. Hannah, you are live right now. I know you've been up there. You've been seeing the different conditions. Can you tell us where you are and what's going on right now?
Hey, Courtney, I'm at Bayport Park Pier, where we are feeling a lot of strong winds right now. The rain has subsided, but we have seen some strong rain bands move through this area as well. And as we've been driving around a bit safely, of course, we have seen plenty of debris in the roadways, and we have heard of at least one downed tree in Hernando County over near Brooksville that has blocked off some roads at this point. And all day as we've been driving around, we've seen people in this county prepare for this storm, prepare for what's expected to be catastrophic storm surge in this area. And one of the spokespeople for the county recently told me they distributed 36,000 sandbags this week as people have prepared for this storm. Now, one of the couples who has been preparing for this storm is right here with me. And Debbie, you're just telling me you're in Spring Hill. Right. This is not something that you are quite used to seeing. We get strong storms in this area, but you were just saying this might be the worst you've seen.
This has been the worst we've seen. We've been here for about 21 years, and we've missed the big storms, but this is the closest worst storm that we've seen so far.
What have you been doing in the last 24 hours or sooner to prepare for what we're expecting to see blow through Hernando County?
You know, we've been making sure we have things battened down at the house, but basically we've been watching the weather and kind of tracking the storm itself to make sure it doesn't take that turn like Charlie did several years ago. You know, it would be unexpected if it would have come more closer to us. But this is as close as I want it to come.
I was trying to describe for my anchors and everyone watching what this feels like out here. You've been out here for a little bit. Can you just describe what we're seeing, what we're feeling right now out here?
The wind gusts, which I don't even know how far they are, but they blow. I mean, everything it shakes the car. It's unreal. I've never seen anything like this before.
Thank you so much, Debbie. Stay safe.
Thank you, too.
Now, in Hernando County, they do have mandatory evacuations in order for Zone A, Zone B, Zone C, and for manufactured homes, mobile homes, anyone in RVs. If you have nowhere to go, they are still accepting people, of course, at their shelter, which is at West Hernando Middle School. Right now, they said they have roughly 60 people at that shelter, but it can accept 350 people. They said they can expand to more if needed. So again, if you are in one of the evacuation zones and you're still looking for somewhere to go, that is a place where you will be safe and welcome. For now, in Hernando County, Hannah Deneen, 10 Tampa Bay.
And Hannah, I think we still have Hannah there. Hannah, you know, Hernando County was one of the areas where we saw one of the most memorable rescues that happened. There was a mother and her son trying to leave. They weren't able to leave. Have you talked with the sheriff about what they're doing right now to make sure that people really are out of these island communities?
Yes, I spoke with Sheriff Al Nienhuis a few hours ago now, and he said that their big effort today has been being present in these communities. So he's had deputies all across the county, especially in Zone A, so that if people have questions, they can speak with officials there. And again, the sheriff said they will always do their best to get to people who are in trouble when they are in trouble. But the level of storm surge that they're expecting to see in Hernando County, he's just reminding people that there is a level at which his first responders are not going to be able to get out there in the community and help people until that water subsides. So again, he's urging everyone to be proactive and get out now. It's still not too late.
All right, Hannah, thank you so much. Hannah, live for us in Hernando County.
We want to get over to our team of meteorologists here. We have a tornado warning. We know that tornadoes are often spawned by these hurricanes. What are we seeing right now?
Yeah, Dave, so we just got this tornado warning into Hillsborough and Polk County. So a lot of these tornado warnings we've been focusing on a little bit further to the south. But now this one just popped up moments ago. It is until 7 o'clock, so just 10 minutes left on this. But if I can put up the velocity radar, I want to see what we're working with and see if we can get that couplet. But you can see that it extends into Lakeland, and we're working on getting our Lakeland camera up as well. But this tornado warning was just populated for Hillsborough and Polk County. Willow Oak, Lakeland, you guys are included in this polygon, so please make sure you respect the polygon. Again, we've been talking about these tornado warnings that have been kind of spawning from these bands as Hurricane Helene moves to the west of us. So if we could get a little bit of a better picture here, either, okay, they got Lakeland coming up in just a second. Perfect.
On it right
okay,
there.
so we're not seeing a lot of rotation on here, and you notice that the polygon is fairly small, but you know, this is radar indicated, I believe, if Michaela could correct me, radar indicated tornado warning. So that means that we necessarily didn't have spotters that saw this with their eye, but we are picking it up with the radar beam. I'm sorry, say that again?
So they basically are issuing this, obviously radar, because they just can't see it. But when we've seen debris in the air earlier, and when we've seen now pictures from earlier water spouts that became tornadoes down south, you take all of these seriously, because now they certainly could be producing a tornado on the ground. So Coronet, 7 o'clock. Winston, just after that. Gibsonia around 7:11. That would give you about 20 minutes from right now. It doesn't look super impressive as far as rotation goes.
If the control room can pop up, I think they have max 1. Okay, there we go. All right, so this is Lakeland. So Lakeland is included in that polygon. Hillsborough and Polk County, again, under that tornado warning. We do see there's raindrops there. Of course, the clouds really moving. Not too many trees to look at, but again, the water is continuing to rise. That's another concern as we have Helene that has been upgraded to a Category 4 hurricane, and we are getting from these outer bands these tornadoes that continue to spin up. And I believe if you okay, we're spinning the camera around.
Yeah, I'm driving it over to the right a little bit. This is pretty much the area in which we're looking. I can't see anything. It's going to be right between there and Plant City. And our Plant City camera is probably not going to be able to see that from that particular angle, but it will go by right there. It's down towards the Edison area right now. If you're in Willow Oak, we got weather 2 up.
Yeah, I think they had weather 1 up. So if you guys could switch it, perfect. All right, so if you...
There's weather 2, so you can see this is the area right in here.
Yes.
All right, and it's very weak. All right, very weak. But Willow Oak, you want to be in your safe spot. And in fact, you know, this is a much more populated area getting into Lakeland and Plant City. And this is going to be moving almost due north. It's going to be moving just about like this. Yeah. All right, so all of these roads that we're seeing out there, all that area from Willow Oak up to I-4. I think it stays west of Medulla and east of Trapnell, but if you live right out in the middle of all that, that's where we're talking about, right? Pipkin Road, West Pipkin Road, Yule Road, you get over towards Shepherd Road. All of those areas, you need to be in your safe spot. It's crossing 60 right now from the south to the north towards I-4, which is all the way up here. See that? But it's going to be eventually up towards Drainfield Road. I do think it will likely miss downtown Lakeland and stay west of 37, which you see out here. And it looks like it will avoid Plant City too. So really good news there, but certainly all of these areas right here in the middle. Buell Road, Ripken Road, right up there, Yeomans, Winston, these areas in between Plant City and Lakeland. It's south of there right now, but it's crossing State Road 60 right now. The velocity, here it is there. Let me take this thing off here. See another view. Very weak looking signature. Very, very weak looking signature at this point. Doesn't mean there's not a tornado there. It lasts very long at all. And in fact, Doesn't even look like there's a big rotation there at all at this particular point. But still, Willow Oak, you want to be in your area. Medulla, if I was you, I would too. You know, just to be safe, especially if you live west of 37 and just southwest of downtown Lakeland. I still am not seeing anything on the camera over in Lakeland. Doesn't mean anything, obviously. A lot of these are rain wrapped, so it's going to be very, very tough to see. But we will end up seeing that move over at State Road 60 right now. In fact, it's just about over that now. And yeah, a little bit of rotation there. Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. Again, this is Doppler indicated. Doesn't look to show a lot of debris or anything like that. Thank goodness. You can see a little bit. You want to see this right in here. See where it says that's where the early rotation is. Some of that could be. And it was a little bit stronger, I think, when it flared up, but now it's pretty much gone. In fact, let's just back up our velocity and see it. Much better couplet right in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely falling apart. Definitely falling apart. Michaela, anything on chat? They're going to keep going?
I haven't been able to get into seeing anything from chat quite yet, but still seeing that this is just, like you've been saying, relatively ragged. Nothing really. Not a huge couplet within this system. It's more just, hey, we've got some strong winds, potential rotation, and all of these have been radar indicated. So we haven't had someone on the ground see these. This is when the National Weather Service says, hey, we've got the right ingredients to see some rotation. We're going to put a warning on this to keep people safe. And then they'll come out and do a survey either tomorrow or the day after to see if we did, in fact, have tornadic activity or if this was straight line wind damage. Either way, the National Weather Service will come out to verify what went down with these systems that are coming through. Even though they're very fast, they're short-lived, we are still going to make sure that we're doing our due diligence here to verify what happened with these.
They've expired it. It's allowed it to expire. I do see that Port Manatee, which is the south side of the bay, Tampa Bay, the water levels in the last 30 minutes have come up 1.5 feet. 1.5 feet in 30 minutes down at Port Manatee in Tampa Bay. That is the surge. 6:57 right now. It's been about 6:30 or so. So the timing that we were forecasting is holding right now. So those water levels should continue to go. If you've got Weather 2 up right now, I'll kind of show you what we were looking at here. Here's the timing that we were thinking of everything and what the tides are doing. This is prime time. This is going to be prime time for the peak. And you can see basically the tide was trying to go out, right? It's going down at 5:20. Now the tide's coming up and we're peaking. We're going to be peaking out in this area here for the next several hours.